And we're live, Pep Talk boys, and welcome tonight. It's me, Jay Albie, and tonight my sparring partner is no other than boxing fanatic Ra. How you doing? And welcome to tonight's show.
A lot of boxing to talk about. It's been a busy weekend.
Yeah, no, definitely. I've not felt too great over the weekend. I'll be honest. I wasn't feeling yesterday. I felt like death's door yesterday, but I managed to keep up with the action. And yeah, it's great to speak to you about the boxing. Like I say, when it's been a busy weekend of boxing, it's always great to speak to you. And yeah, you're getting all over the place as I see on Instagram. You're at all the shows and that. So yeah, let's kick off with. Look, I spoke to Raj just before and I said, look, Friday I only caught the main event. Didn't catch any of the action. I know you were there, Rob. But if you want to tell everyone and go through a couple of fights that you enjoyed, and then I'll join you for the main event.
Yeah, York Hall, MTK Global's show. Of course, the main event was Isaac Lowe's IBF featherweight final eliminator against Lopez from Mexico. You know the York Hall, great little venue, great views of the ring from wherever you're seated. So that's always great to go down there. Very intimate, all of that. Yeah, there was obviously the usual sort of prospects, first half a dozen fighters or so. Um, the usual sort of couple of knockovers. A couple of them had some fairly competitive fights, half decent learning fights. Into Bassi was back, his big ticket selling his Punjabi community.
Yeah,
Um, got back to winning ways. Um, Fight was at middleweight, although afterwards he said he wants to fight at welterweight. So it's been a theme of his first four fights or five fights up and down the weights. I think he needs to decide what his best fighting weight is, stick to it, and then he can sort of power towards the sort of southern area title, which is what he said he wants to do. But at what weight class? I think that's what he needs to decide. Um, Shiloh de Freitas, quite a talent at 140 pounds. The fight was at welterweight, but I think he said 140 is going to be his fight weight.
yeah,
Uh, he's rated as quite the talent, and he looked it, to be honest. Yeah, it was a journeyman and the usual sort of fights that these novices are going to have. But yeah, powerful, athletic. Yeah, keep an eye on him. 140. There's a lot of young talent coming up in that division.
yeah. It's buzzing at the
So
moment.
Josh Taylor, I think he'll leave the division in good hands domestically. There'll be some good fighters there. So yeah, for me, Dalton Smith's one of the best prospects in the country.
100%.
But yeah, in a couple of years, there could be some good domestic dust-ups in that weight class. I mean, there's already some guys like Akeem and Brown and Sam Maxwell, and there's a bit of needle between them, and people like Lara Date is still there. So it's one to look out for.
You're good.
The
I reckon
fight
they
that
could do a
re
good boxing super series at that weight, don't you think, Ra? 140
Yeah,
pound, good
yeah,
boxing
yeah,
super series.
absolutely. Well, they have done a World Boxing Super Series at 140 already. That's how
Yeah,
Josh Taylor made his own. Do you mean a
but
domestic
they
one?
but they've got to start rotating and going back round. But I think if they go back to a 140 division, as we're saying, there's a lot of talent
Mm,
at the moment, and I think the fans wouldn't be opposed to seeing another 140 tournament because,
no, no.
like you
I
say, there's a
mean,
lot of good talent there.
when there's a lot of talent and you get unified champions at the end of it, you, yeah, you can't.
And as
So
we'll get on to later, another name that I want to throw out there, Montana Love, which fought last night, another one at 140. We'll get
yeah,
into him a bit later. But as before you go on, Raul, we get a couple of comments in. We got Prince Teddy says Lions in the camp. Yeah, we'll talk about that a bit later. Don't worry, we're not in no rush tonight. Me and Ra are going to go through this, and we're going to go through a lot of the fights. So don't worry about it. Kane Dingle boxing says, yeah, there's something that's lacking in British boxing. That's power. As I said, we'll get to that a bit later, but nice to see the neutral corners in the house as well. And also about Shiraz. Look, I'm going to get my teeth into that Shiraz fight later. So, look, we'll warm up to that. Don't you worry. But, yeah, we'll carry on with the MTK show. But, yeah, we'll go on to the main event, Ra. You were there. You were at the show. You were first hand to see what was going on. Give me your thoughts on what you saw in the main event with Isaac Lowe, where he went wrong, and then I'll come in and give my opinion.
you know what? I'm going to go as far as to say I don't think things went that wrong for Isaac Lowe. Now he went over in 30 seconds.
Mm.
And I thought, oh God, here we go again. Another Brit who's hopelessly outgunned by a Mexican at a lighter weight class. But I tell you what, I had my doubts about Isaac Lowe. The way he got back up and fought a dogfight for the next 4 or 5 rounds with a Mexican puncher, he's really won me over. Now, people say, well, I mean, when I was leaving the arena, listening to everyone speaking, the fans and a few fighters who I bumped into incidentally, just name dropping there. And they were all saying, oh, he made a mistake with the, getting into a dogfight. That is partly correct, but not totally, because I think after that initial knockdown, the fight barely started, he got back up and fought back. And I think actually that was important because psychologically it then told Lopez, I'm still here and you're in a fight. So because I mean, you watch the fight. Lopez is pretty wild. He's pretty reckless. There's nothing sophisticated about his pressure fighting. So if Lowe had become passive after that knockdown, I think he'd have just invited being walked down. But the fact that he dug in and hit it out with him, traded with him, was still there at the end of the round, and then again in the second round, got dropped again. In either case, he weren't badly hurt for either of the 2 knockdowns. So I think for a couple of rounds, it weren't necessarily the wrong tactics, just to psychologically put it on Lopez. You're in a fight. But what he should have done then is afterwards switch it up. Certainly around the halfway stage before he got stopped. And Spencer Fearon agreed with this in his post-fight analysis that Lowe was really well back into it by the halfway stage. You would probably still say Lopez was ahead on points, but if at that point Lowe had then switched to a boxing behind his jab, he might well have clawed it back. Overall, like I said, he's won me over. He's passed the chin and heart test. I think it was a body shot in the end that did for him. I thought the stoppage was premature because he did beat the count. And the fact that it was a body shot means his head was probably still clear. So why it got stopped, I thought it was overcautious. I thought it was unlucky to be stopped by that, to be honest. Because he chose the wrong tactics, he probably would have been ground down anyway. But I think he deserved the chance. And, he's got a great corner in Andy Lee. I'm sure if he'd seen it through the round, Lee would have told him, no, look, get on your bike, box behind your jab, and you might be able to, nick this on point still. Anyway, it's a moot point now, but in terms of where Lowe stands, make no mistake, he may still be the best featherweight in the country, because I tell you what, Lopez, I reckon he would spark out Galahad and Warrington, because we've seen them both sparked out, and he could probably stop Gill as well, who's also been stopped by body shots. So I would not be surprised, at least, in fact, I would favour Lopez to now go on and win the IBF featherweight title. And, he's unknown, but you look at his record, apart from the early career 4-round defeat, his other defeat was a guy whose only defeat has been Navarrete. So over there in Mexico, he's done the traditional Mexican grounding in the game. He's crude, no doubt, but he's got a chin like most of these Mexicans have. No one will put a dent in him, except maybe Lee Wood might hit hard enough to put a dent in him. But those other 3 guys I mentioned, they ain't going to put a dent in him, and he'll keep coming and keep hitting them. And I think he probably have stopped any of those 3 names I mentioned. So Lowe's is still in a good position. I don't think it's by any means, a particularly bad loss for him.
No, I think his stock goes up in defeat a lot. In some fights, that does happen for fighters, and I think for Isaac Lowe, his stock definitely went up because we saw different attributes which you alluded to, like his toughness, his grit, his determination to come back from getting dropped so early, and I believe, as you say there, I think that he's definitely one of the best featherweights in the country. I believe that Lopez, as you say, he's definitely going to put a right challenge in for the IBF title. There's no doubt about that. He's definitely look, he's wild. It reminded me a bit of, like, you remember when Saffron fought Tennyson and it was a bit of a shootout in the
Yeah.
first round and that, and that kind of changed the whole, well, determined the fight for Saffron to go on and win. I know that Saffron didn't beat Hughes. That was different tactics, but in that fight against Tennyson, it was a shootout, and Isaac Lowe, for a lot of that, he did have a shootout, and he should have gone beyond the jab. He should have boxed a little bit smarter. But I thought there was a lot of nervous energy from Lowe. It was an IBF eliminator, so he's going to be nervous. That's just natural. It's how some people deal with it. I thought he used a lot of nervous energy on his toes. He was a bit, but that might have been from the early onslaught where he was just trying. He might have been overthinking. Sometimes you get that, you overthink, you then get into a toe-to-toe war, and then before you know it, you get hit with a shot that you don't necessarily see or expect to come in. As someone said in the comments, Fury needs to stop attending his friends' fights. We saw it with Hosea Burton when the other week. It was like a shell of a guy against Dan Aziz. I don't want to take anything away from Dan Aziz. He was absolutely fantastic. 10 out of 10 performance. But yeah, it's definitely true. It doesn't look good for Tommy Fury if he's got his brother as his coach and going to be ringside when it's got to be a bit of a voodoo at the moment. Every time Fury does attend someone's fights that he's friends or related to, they don't come too good. But yeah, Isaac Lowe definitely will come back stronger. I would like to see the Jordan Gill fight next because I feel like it would be another great fight, even though it's not an eliminator. It's a fight that I think either one of them could get a world title shot on the back of that fight. So I believe Jordan Gill versus Isaac Lowe would be good. I wouldn't even be opposed to throwing Isaac Lowe in with a Lee Wood. Do you know what I mean? For the WBA regular title. I know he lost a 7th round stoppage. I agree with you that the fight should have continued. We'll get into that later. I'm fed up with a lot of these refs. These fighters, they're taking their time. A lot of fighters over the years get a lot of stick saying you're getting up too soon, and then they end up losing the fight. And you're seeing a lot of these fighters at the moment. They're taking the 8 count, and then the ref's stopping it. And in my eyes, is it the refs thinking they're taking too long? I honestly don't know. But there's a couple of fights from just this weekend alone where I thought it was stopped quite early. And I'm going to get into it a bit later when we get into some of the other fights. But yeah, I thought Isaac Lowe could have definitely continued. And I think that Isaac Lowe, chin up, no, look, no stock has gone down. As I said, his stock's gone up in defeat. I think there's a few tasty fights out there, and when you go down with in a way like that, when it's passionate, you with a lot of balls. Do you know what I mean? He had balls like King Kong to keep battling through, and yeah, a lot of people are going to want to snap him up for big fights, and that's what you want to do in this game. It might not have been tonight. The Friday night might not have been his night, but he's going to get many big nights in the future. So Isaac Lowe, congratulations. I know you lost, but you will definitely come back stronger, and experience is key. So, look, it was first time for an IBF world title eliminate. He looked a bit nervous. Second time coming, he's going to take it a lot more better. So, yeah, Jazza Dickens, someone said in the comments as well, it's another great fight that could be out there. We were talking about it. These boxing at the moment is stacked for fights in a lot of these divisions, especially at these smaller weights as well. So, Mr. Patrick Curtis, I want to say hello. Thank you for joining the stream tonight. Also, Kane Dingle Boxing said as well, Lowe was jumping around on his toes far too much. Mexican fella was smart, planted his feet and let his hand goes with big shots at the right moment. And that's definitely correct. And look, all we can say about Isaac Lowe is he will come back stronger. But yeah, let's get into the BT show. Look, there's a couple of fights. Yeah, no, I am because I see it again this morning. As I say, I was on Death Doors last night. I wanted to have another reevaluate this morning, see if what I saw last night was what I saw. Look, we're going to George Fox first. We're going to some of the early fights against Sokolowski. I've had many rants on here before where Sokolowski's been robbed, especially the David Adelaide fight. I definitely thought he won that quite clearly. There was no doubt for me that he won that. What were your thoughts on that fight, then, Ra? Did you? I saw it away. I want to see if it's the same as you. I'll let you go first. But what was your thoughts on that fight?
I think Sokolowski was the clear winner. Obviously, I was there in the arena. From what I hear now, the BT Sport commentators were extremely biased and were talking as if Fox was fully in control. For me, it looked like at least 4 of the rounds Sokolowski had won clearly. He was repeatedly landing punches that were visibly snapping Fox's head back. don't really recall Fox ever landing anything meaningful. And certainly looking on YouTube boxing's, the guys who've analysed it and talked about it this morning, that was pretty much the consensus that Sokolovsky was a clear winner. The most surprising thing about it was that he got the decision, because as we know, when you're the house fighter against these journeymen, is Sokolovsky even a journeyman? I think
He beat some good fighters, hasn't he?
I mean, Ayman Khan made this point to Frank Warren on Boxing Social. He actually asked him that if Sokolovsky got some backing, he could actually do something. He could be a contender of some sort. Not saying at world level, certainly European level. I guess because he's not box office material. He's not TV material. I don't know. His English is okay, but he's never going to be a great speaker in English. Things like that. Maybe promoters don't want to invest in him, or maybe it's just that it's too late now because he's 35 and already got a lot of defeats on his record. And I don't know, but if he was given the sort of backing that a lot of these prospects are given, he's proven he's better than a lot of these prospects. He's beaten them, so yeah, it was good to see him get a win. Whether that actually helps his career or not, I don't know, because are people going to want to put their prospects in with him now that he doesn't play his scripted role of getting battered?
Well, he's done that. He's done that for a while though, right? He beat Nick Webb. I think he'll still be. He's been titled and he's at that level now where he's the guy that they throw the young prospects in, and if they do him, then they'll go on. If they don't, and then it looks like, look, you're not ready. You're clearly not ready, or you're not going to go where we want you to go, because you saw Solomon. Was it Solomon Dakers? He done pretty well against. I thought Sokolovsky absolutely schooled him, because he's a difficult man, as you say. If he had the right backing, he could. He's one of them fighters. If you go with him toe to toe, I think it would be a very exciting fight. A lot of these fighters, like last night, George Fox, he was pitter pattering. It wasn't. It was like he went in for a spar and thought this would be easy work. It's Sokolovsky, like I'll get the job done. And as you say, Sokolovsky was coming with some big bombs, and when he was connecting, as you saw, they were visible big shots. The head was getting snapped back, and they were scoring shots. And look, last night, when I caught it, like I say, I thought that Fox won just because of the punditry biasness. I'll be honest. I was ill, and I got lured in. Richie Woodall sweet talked me into thinking Fox won that, and I was very naive to think that, because it wasn't a fight where there wasn't knockdowns, there wasn't like massive shots. It was George Fox coming in tippy tappy, and then Sokolovsky would come in with some big bombs, and that's what, when I rewatched it, that's how I scored it. And with you, he had 4 or 5 clear rounds where he won the fight, and Richie Woodall, as it says in the comments, was smoking something 100%, because they were very convincing, and you can see why, if people at home are watching these fights and they're not maybe massive boxing fans. I am a big boxing fan, and I was swayed. I had to watch it twice. You can see why fans sometimes think that what they're saying is always correct, and it's not. It's just their opinion. Ra was there in the arena. He said it was clear Sokolovsky got the victory, and for me that says a lot, because you're there, you get to see the punches, you hear the punches, and watching it back again, George Fox didn't even really look like he didn't moan about being defeated. It wasn't like he kicked off it, and he kind of took it on the chin. And I love Don Charles. I've followed Don Charles for many years. I'm sure Raz followed his career as well. Obviously going back with Del Boy and that. So seeing his son put a performance in like that, I think Don's not going to be very happy this weekend. He's going to put a rocket up his son's ass and say, look, you're going to have to perform a lot better than that, because he is beatable as well, Sokolovsky. Because he has good tools. Fox has good tools.
He is, but round by round, it's not like Fox. You'd have thought after 2 or 3 rounds, Don Charles would have told him, hey, wait a sec. This guy, if he gets momentum, you've seen what he's done with Adelaide, you don't want to leave this to chance. Step it up, but he didn't really. Just, as you said, pity-patty, a lot of posturing and feints, and yeah, like you said, like he was just having to move around in sparring. Did he think just off the back of his promotional connections he'll get it? That is posturing and what have you would convince it was just the referee, weren't it? Weren't even 3 judges. I think Prince Teddy is right when he's saying Fox was very cocky, especially in the pre-fight interviews of all the YouTube channels. He's gone missing now. He has gone missing. Hasn't said a word. So
yeah, I think it's a reality check. To be fair, maybe he thought I'm being backed by Frank Warren. They're not going to let Sokolowski get the win, a bit like David Adelaide the fight, because obviously that was on a BT show as well. And he went in there. He went at Sokolowski. Look, and it's true what they say in the comments, and you find it with a lot of commentators. And I had it with the Zone last night as well. You can blatantly see when a show wants to favour a certain fighter, like maybe the home fighter, and you get it, and it's disgusting for me. I think it's got to be completely neutral. And I know they're paid by it, but these 2 guys or 2 ladies, whoever's fighting whatever fight, should have the respect and the honesty to have the fight called as its own. And as they say, you see it with Sokolowski when he was hitting the body or when he was landing a clean shot. They wasn't always going overboard or like how they do with certain fighters and that. And I think George Fox, as you say, he's gone quiet. It's a real big wake-up call for him, and it'd be interesting to see if he comes back from that. But Sokolowski, I'm sure he'd be thrown to another heavyweight, another up-and-comer, and I wouldn't be surprised if Fraser Clark fights him in his first couple of fights. That's a person that I would think that maybe would like to get in there and see where he is at this moment in time. Because let's be fair, you will know where you are when you fight Sokolowski, because he's a good fighter at that level. And if you get past him, and when I say get past him and do well, then you've done well. Because I said when David Adelaide fought him, the best thing for David Adelaide that night would have been if he had a loss, because people can regroup from a loss. When you win and you shouldn't win, you don't. It just papers over the cracks sometimes, and some people don't learn. And sometimes, like Isaac Lowe, he's going to learn after that loss on Friday, and he'll come back stronger from it. As David Adelaide come back stronger from, we don't know, because he's not been in a test since the Sokolowski fight, and until then we won't know. But yeah, great performance from Sokolowski. George Fox will come back. If he doesn't, then obviously good luck to whatever he gets onto. But look, a true champion will come back, and a defeat doesn't define you. So look, we'll see what happens with George Fox there. But there's a lot of young heavyweights, and if he wants to mix it with him, then he's going to have to get back in that gym and step it up a little bit. But another fighter I want to get in. Oh, sorry, Ra, you carry on.
I was just going to say, with Fox, is he young though? I mean, he's what, 30? Does he have much of an amateur pedigree? I'm guessing not.
No.
I don't ever hear him talking about, winning ABAs or going off to world championship. He's another of these guys that seems to have decided to start really late with minimal amateur background. And I don't know, it seems to be a bit of a modern trend. Do people just watch boxing and think, oh, I could do that? I don't know. But at the age of 30, when the other guys his age, they do have a very good amateur pedigree and can sort of move pretty quickly. He's got some serious work to do, put it that way. So anyway,
I think it's what with these young fighters as well, because I think he sparred Tyson Fury, and I think they get a lot of false confidence when they go and spar at such a young age with these big athletes. I think maybe it is good to spar with these guys, and look, sparring is different to a real fight, and maybe they get these false confidence, especially someone that's, like you say, not got a big amateur career, not got much pedigree behind him. He's going in sparring, and look, if you're going in with these heavyweights and you're going 8 rounds with them, you're going to get this sort of false confidence. Obviously, you're doing well, but these like people like Tyson Fury, he's not going to be going full Tyson Fury mode on these young fighters. He's got a lot of respect for fighters, and they're in there to just learn stuff. That's what sparring is. But yeah, look, we'll see what happens with Fox. We'll see if he comes back. But look, some of the people in the comments saying they don't like Eastern European fighters. I don't think it's that. I think it's they're just more pro towards BT fighters, and that's what they go with. And you see that quite a lot. But there's one fighter that I'm very, very excited about. It's the Haribo boy. It's Dennis McCann. I know he didn't get the stoppage victory, but man, the first couple of rounds, he come out like Dennis the Menace. Very explosive, very like fair play to his opponent for sticking in there. To be fair, he gritted, he bit down on his gum shield and stayed in there. And he was a little beast, didn't he?
That little midget was he was quite the terrier, yeah. I mean, I don't know whether we really learned anything new about McCann from that. He's had a few fights of that level, but by my understanding, he's had quite a few personal issues of late. First fight back after a while. I think he had injuries as well, and his hand went again. I think Frank Moran said in the second round. So yeah, I think this was just to get him out again for the end of the year. But it's what is it coming up to 10 pro fights for him? I know he's only 20 years old, but at the risk of sounding a bit too much of a taskmaster, you know, at those lighter weight classes, youth is more of a factor than, say, at heavyweight. So I think in 2022, I'd like to see him in with someone like maybe one of these guys who's actually calling him out. There are a few fighters calling him out. So yeah, don't get me wrong. Great talent, so exciting, but yeah, I think that he should in 2022 be put in with someone who's actually coming to win and might have the tools. Say on the same level, still a prospect. I know there's the Souser, Andrew McCain. He's called him out. I mean that guy, he's got a bit of an edge to him. He just looks confident in himself. Liam Davis, was it? He's also on Frank Moran's books. So
yeah, there's a few fighters calling them out.
Got guys of that level. I'm not saying go up against McGregor or Farouk yet, or anyone like that. No, but a fellow prospect. I think that'd be reasonable for around middle of next year.
Yeah, no, I agree.
Very
I think
exciting.
maybe get another up and coming fighter and maybe by the end of next year fight for the Commonwealth title, and then maybe 2023 then look for the British title. As you say, he's only 20 years old. I think he's lost some friends recently as well. Someone in the comments says he's lost a couple of friends as well. So
friends recently. Yeah, I mean that's...
yeah, so he's had some struggles, and I like to see fighters active. I know a lot of people might say we didn't learn much. I know you said that there, but you got to put things into content. I'd rather him get his name still out there instead of sitting on the sidelines and maybe get the ring rust off a little bit. And also, if you lose one of your hands in the second round, it's well done that he managed the rest of the fight as he did. Obviously, the first round he looked like he was trying to take the guy's head off, so I'm not surprised he broke his hand. He was definitely very wild in the first round, but I like that. It gives him that little bit of edge. It's a bit like I love Martinez, the Mexican, for that sort of reason where he's got no real idea of defending. He just going out there, he'll take the guy's head off, and if my chin's good enough, I'll find out. And as you see with Martinez the other week, he went down, he'll get back up and he'll keep going. I love that. So it's different. It's horses for courses, what people like in fighters. I like that little mentality, that little pit bull mentality. And I love that about Dennis McCann because he looks like butter wouldn't melt in his mouth. If you just looked at a picture of him, he's got his nice slicked hair.
Cheeky chappy, isn't
he? Nice cheeky face. You think this guy, he's a nice guy. But then he gets in that ring and he turns into an animal, and I love that. So yeah, Dennis McCann, great to see you back in the ring. Hopefully next year, as me and Ra said, you get some bigger, more meaningful fights. And I know he's only 20, but I think he's that good. And I think if someone could be a good dance partner for him, he's more than capable of stepping up to that maybe English title level, Commonwealth title level. Get a few straps under your belt and move forward. You don't need to rush. But someone says Louis Lynn versus Dennis McCann. Yeah, that's a great fight. Like,
Does Louis Lynn fight at featherweight? Correct me if I'm wrong, Prince Teddy.
Yeah, he might do as well. I don't know if Dennis McCann is he settled on a weight. What weight is he?
He's been a bantamweight as far as I think. Pretty much his whole career.
I didn't know if he was going to move up or anything like that. Sometimes fighters do that. They get to 10 fights or something, 10, 12 fights in and think, oh, maybe the next weight up might be better for me. But look, at the moment, Dennis McCann doing some great stuff. So, yeah, really, really enjoyed Dennis McCann. Look, I know there was a couple of other fights on the BT show, and we might go over them later, but I want to get into the Bradley Skeet one because I've got a lot that I want to talk about this fight. And before I go into it, I want to say I am a neutral going into this because I don't want people saying in a minute, oh, your favourite one. Hamzat Shiraz, I've been a massive fan of him for a while. We followed him on this channel. Massive prospect. Ra spoke about him on here before. Kenny has, Joe has too. Yeah.
You put out there that you're neutral. I'm going to put it out there. Hamza's my boy. If you looked at my Instagram, you see
I know he's your boy.
he's the fighter that's given me my first interview. So I'm not going to talk shit about him.
No, that's all
Backing him
right.
100%. But yes, I know what you're going to bring up, and you're absolutely right to. So carry on.
Yeah, look, I'm all about the fighters. Everyone knows that. I don't want to discredit someone, and I'm not going to butcher someone. Don't worry about that. But I just want to say, if people think my opinion's more one way, it's not for that. As they say in catchphrase, I just say what I see, and I just say what I saw in the fight last night. And going into that fight, I thought Hamzat Shiraz was going to win by an early stoppage. So I want to throw that out there before we get into it. But let's give credit to Bradley Skeet. I'd love to give the guy credit because this guy come off a long layoff. His second fight back to fight an absolute beast that no one really wants to fight. Let's be real. You know this. He's your boy. No one really wanted to fight him in that division. Let's be real. No one of a high quality. This guy wants some big, meaningful fights. And Bradley Skeet, that was the best fight for Hamzat Shiraz that he could have had because it gave him that wake-up call that if I'm going up to that next level, this is the sort of fight I needed. I think a rematch should happen just because of, let's just go on fairness. We'll go to the stoppage in a moment. But I had Bradley Skeet winning every round. I don't want to be disrespectful or anything like that. I'm just calling it as I saw it. I thought that was an absolute boxing masterclass from a guy that was 34, 35, 2-year layoff against the best young prospect in the division. A guy that I think could, before this fight, I thought could maybe beat Anthony Fowler, take over the British level quite easily and move up to European level. We saw a few things he needs to work on. Let's be real. He needs to work on a few things. I don't know whether it was just a brilliant game plan from Bradley Skeet or whatever. But the stoppage, look, he should have been disqualified. The referee, Steve Gray, I'm going to throw it out there now. I've had issues with Steve Gray for loads and loads of fights. Going back to the fight where he was in there for the Geordie fella, Ritson, when his own father and cornerman threw the towel in, he threw the towel back out and allowed him to get absolutely muled, got dropped again, give him another standing count, and then saw him get brutally dropped again. And from there on, there's been many other occasions. This guy is not putting his fighters' safety first, in my opinion, at the moment. It's a big call, but look, I'm all about the fighters' safety, the fighters' health. And look, you can debate whether the shot was behind the ear or whatever. I say, look, the shot, fair enough. He got hit and he got dropped, and I would have been happy with a standing 8 count or something. I'm not issuing that. When you throw a punch, you don't mean to hit someone at the back of the head or near the ear. It's a close line. It's a close margin. So that, I saw some people moaning about the first shot, that hit him behind the ear. Look, it's boxing. You get hit, you get knocked down. The guy still had his senses at that point to take an 8 count. But the 3 shots after that, come on, man. That for me, that was disrespectful. He absolutely sandwiched him. The last, if he went down with with legal shots the way he did, the ref would have said that's over. He went down face first, and it was over. You don't ask a warrior, do you want to carry on? Because the warrior in that person, when they've won all the rounds going up to that, is going to say, okay, I'll carry on. That's probably what they're going to say. And you shouldn't even put it into their hands. And I don't want to say, I'm not beating Hamzat Shiraz. Sometimes sometimes things happen and you get disqualified. It's like in football. You sometimes do a challenge you don't mean, you get a red card. That's just the way it is. Like, accidents happen or mistakes happen. He made a mistake. He was losing a fight. He got overexcited and he hit a grounded opponent. You take your licks and you get on with it. And I just thought, I can't rate his performance after that knockdown. That's what I'm trying to get to, because the guy was semi-conscious. He's not the same fighter that he was the rounds before. He's not the same fighter if you didn't hit him on the ground. The first punch he may have recovered from because he was still had a bit of his senses. I think he would have easily took an 8 count. And then you never know. But I just want to say credit to Bradley Skeet. Shiraz, I think the honest thing would just do a rematch, because I've got no issue. I think he could easily win the rematch. Like we saw in the main event, we saw a different outcome from the first fight. I think the second fight, Shiraz could easily come back with a stoppage win. because some nights is your night, and I felt last night was Bradley Skeet's night to make or break his career. Because if he won that fight, he would have gone on to big fights, and it's just unfortunate that them events happen. But look, I have love and respect for both fighters. I just think that the right thing should have been done. It wasn't. Congratulations on the victory. I'm sure it's going to be a bittersweet victory because he's not going to be able to celebrate it the way he could have. But yeah, right. That's my rant. I'll let you go with it. I know it's your boy, but I just thought that the referee, and it's not even Hamshit's. He should have done what he done, but the referee should have took the situation out of everyone's hands, and he should have come up with the right call.
I mean, the way I saw it, well, I'm glad you said you started on a positive note about Bradley Skeet, because this modern internet troll hater era, the moment a fighter has a bad night or a defeat, it's all about how shiny he is. Sometimes, actually, why can't you just give the other guy credit? Bradley Skeet was brilliant. He was brilliant. I weren't expecting that either. I did think that he might, for a few rounds, give Hamza some problems. But I thought it'd only be a few rounds. I thought Hamza would legit catch up to him as rounds go by. But come 7, 8 rounds, he still weren't. He was still missing quite wildly. Was Bradley way in front? Not so sure, because although he was making Hamza look foolish by swinging wildly and missing, I didn't get the impression Bradley was throwing much back himself. Yeah, certainly didn't really see him throw anything particularly effective. Never really saw Hamza bothered by anything coming back. So if this was two unknown fighters, at the beginning of a card, if it went to the scorecards after 8 rounds, would it have been a robbery if they'd given it to Hamza? Because put it this way, if it wasn't the points, let's be real, Hamza would have got it on points. Would it have been a robbery? I think people would have looked at it and said, some people would have said, well, actually, he was doing all the pressuring. Yeah, he was missing a lot, but the other guy, yeah, he was slippery, but didn't land enough of his own. That said, he should have been disqualified, in my opinion. So, incidentally, I didn't actually see the foul, because the angle where I was sitting, the referee was in my line of vision. So I didn't actually see the punches land. So at first I thought, did he hit him low? And the people around me were saying, oh, I think he got hit low. And now I'm embarrassed to admit, I thought initially, is he trying to pull something here? But then, the word got round that no, he got hit while he was down. And like I said, I've got nothing but admiration for Skeet, because, as you said, if he wanted to, he could have stayed down and the referee would have been forced to disqualify Shiraz. Let's be real, because Hamza, he is the A side, the home fighter. The referee, I'm guessing that's why he pressured Skeet to carry on. Look, Skeet's a warrior. He wanted to carry on. He said so in an interview this morning with Umar of IFL. He said, look, I'm a warrior. I don't want to win sitting on my backside. But it was very strange that he didn't even get the full 5 minutes that you're allowed after a foul.
Yeah.
That's supposed to be the rule. Like, even if you beat foul, you remember when Amir Khan got hit in the leg by Crawford? I don't actually get why in these situations why fighters don't ever actually just say, yeah, give me my full 5 minutes. Or if their coaches don't lean over the ropes and yell out, give him 5 minutes. That's what he's entitled to. I've never actually seen a fight take the 5 minutes, but that's one situation where he'd be well within his rights to, because it was, as you said, they were blatant headshots. It weren't even like.
I think that should work when it's a low blow. I think you should get, when it's a headshot, the fighter ain't going to come back the same. I know with a low blow, I know it's private areas, but that feeling does go away after a couple of minutes. When you get concussed, look, when he got dropped, them extra 2 or 3 punches, they were concussive shots.
Yeah, you're right.
To a defenseless man. He didn't even have his hands up. He took him clean on the chin.
And you're right. He weren't the same afterwards. His legs were gone. Couldn't get out of the way. So
his resilience went. His punch resilience went. That's what happened.
Yeah, naturally so.
Naturally so. and it gives you this false mentality where you're in fight or flight mode. And you saw it when Bradley Skeet got up. He started having a shootout with him, which he didn't do all night. He boxed him beautifully. He started having a shootout with him, and then he got dropped again. So it's difficult. And I get your points as well, where you said that Hamza wasn't really landing many shots, and you didn't see much of power shots being thrown by Bradley Skeet. But Bradley Skeet, he showed the sweet science of boxing, which I said to you, is horses for courses, what you like in certain fights. And what he done was he landed the jab, double jab, and made Hamza miss. So in any line of boxing, he's scoring 1 and 2 points to none coming back. So every 5 to 10 seconds when they're coming together, when they come out of whatever attack they're doing, Skeet's 3 or 4 points up because he's landed an extra couple of shots to maybe Hamzat's 1 or 2, and that's how I was scoring it. So for me, I was just having it as it was more like an amateur fight over a pro fight distance. I just thought that Bradley Skeet was performed, and I think Dom Ingle was shouting it near the later rounds. This is just 4 amateur 3-minute rounds left. You've got this, or something, like the way his mentality, and that's the way I saw Bradley Skeet fighting. It was like, let's not get into a slugfest. This guy's got big power. He's a big guy. They said that they were the same height. Them two fighters were not the same height. They said
No,
in the
hell no.
commentary, they said that they're the same height. They said they're the same height, but Hamzat looks taller. I was like, that doesn't make sense. You contradicted yourself. Like, I was like, that makes no sense.
It's not a good night for BT sports commentators. What does that mean? They're the same height, but one looks taller.
Yeah, I thought the same.
Because
So
Bradley's bald, is that why? I don't know.
Yeah,
I mean,
it was controversial all over, but like and it's a shame because, as I was saying, like Hamza Sharat he's a top fighter. He's someone that I'm really looking forward to, and when it comes down to things like this, and where I say I'm neutral, and the fact is, I don't wish any ill feelings towards anyone, and this social media battering that people do is not, it's not deserved. All I look at is the fairness and what the correct result should have been, and
yeah.
it was that he should have been disqualified. The ref should, as soon as he landed the 3 shots, I don't know why they don't have video replays in boxing. They should have a couple of incidents where you can have 3 in a fight, or each fighter has 1 review each, and then the ref has a review. So in that instance, Dom Ingle could have said to the ref, review what just happened, and you make this decision. It would take 20 seconds for Steve Gray to go to the side of the ring, look at a screen, see what happened, and then make that decision. Don't give it to Bradley Skeet. Don't give it to Dom Ingle or whatever. You look at it. You get paid to look after these fighters. I'll go back to football again. You don't see, like, when a player dives or something, and then the ref go to a player, did you dive? The player's going to say no, or they're going to make up whatever narrative they're going to make, and then the ref's going to be influenced. That doesn't happen. The ref makes a decision, and now with VAR, I know there's still a lot of issues. They make a decision. In boxing, you've got life and death situations, so it's even more intense. And Steve Gray's making certain decisions in certain fights, which is pitting these fighters at danger. Well, you had it with Ritson earlier. It was earlier this year where the towel got thrown in. He threw it back out and let the man take a battering.
That's the
It's
thing. The
not
thing
fair.
with in this particular instance, I don't think some sort of VAR was needed. I mean, the referee's right there, didn't he? He must have seen. Well, he did see that they were illegal blows,
Yeah, took a
because
point.
he told the judges to take a point off Hamza, so he knew they were illegal blows, which means he
You
must
should have
know
saw Howard.
also.
Right, you should have saw Howard Foster's face at ringside when Steve Gray went over to him and went, take a point. It was like, you're not stopping this. Like, it was a shocked face. Like, I think he thought he was coming over to say, I'm disqualifying him. And he said 1 point, and Howard Foster was like, okay, all right, is that your decision? Because it was a ludicrous decision. For me, it was crazy. It was absolute craziness. And it's nothing
Uh,
against Hamzat Shiraz. He made a mistake. It happens,
Yeah, I'm sure
especially in
that
a fight.
Hamza didn't. I'm sure it was just in the heat of the moment, the
Yeah.
frustration, the red mist descended. I think one of the guys in the comments alluded to Roy Jones against Montel Griffin all them years ago. If a great fighter like Roy Jones, and he was by then a multi-weight world champion, if he can make that mistake, like you said, it happens.
It does.
We're not shitting on Hamza, but the right decision should have been a DQ win for Skeet. And even that is, as you said, I think even that Skeet would have been disappointed with because, as you said, there's a strong argument to say he was winning anyway. He would have,
Yeah.
I think he'd have much preferred to have got to the final bell and had the decision go in his favour. I don't know how the judges had scored it after 8 completed rounds. I guess we'll never know. If I know Frank Warren, he'll probably suppress those cards because
Yeah,
we
no,
haven't.
definitely.
Have they been published? I don't think they have, but
No.
it is what it is. I don't think we're going to see that rematch soon. I think Frank will know that style-wise. Again, look, Hamza he's. I think he's a great talent. I think he will go
Yeah.
on to big things. But sometimes styles just make fights. I mentioned how he's made that great move over to California to work in Ricky Funez's Goose and Gym. All that sparring, I'm guessing, is mostly ferocious Latino punchers who come forward. My guess is he's way, way out of practice of dealing with slippery, slick boxers. Um,
Mm.
yeah, he could win a rematch if he gets the right sparring partners in. 6 months from now, Skeet at his age, I guess he can't get any better, whereas Hamza can. I don't even know if a rematch at this point is even in Skeet's best interests. Because
No.
again, Hamza is very well he's very well connected. He's got a lot of backing. So like I said, he can go away, probably get really good sparring partners, um,
And he's a
and
great
improve.
fighter.
And
Look,
he's
he's
and yeah,
great.
let's be real, he is
He is
brilliant. He's
great.
got great physical
Yeah.
tools to work with there. I really have just got so much admiration for Skeet now. The fact that he didn't take the DQ win by staying down when he could have. And I really think this is an example of a bit like we were saying with Sokolovsky. It's one of those fighters that I think if this sport weren't so cruel, he'd be rewarded because the amount of fighters we see just come in, get hit, and fall over.
Mm.
And for him to go in up against it, all the odds against him, and actually go in there and try and win, he deserves
Yeah.
something now. So if he doesn't get the rematch, I hope someone, if not Frank Warren, I hope a promoter gives him something. Maybe an English title shot or Commonwealth title shot, whatever the case may be. He deserves a big payday and a crack at a title somewhere. Let's hope someone gives him one, if there was any justice. But this sport, how cruel it is.
Yeah, no, definitely. And look, we'll go to some of the comments in here quickly. We got the neutral corner says Ham's at 6'3". Yeah, that's what they said. They said Bradley Skeet and Hamza was 6'3", but Hamza looks taller. And I was like, that's ridiculous. Me and Ryan had a little giggle about that a moment ago. But I think Richie Woodall was definitely smoking some of that funky stuff last night. He was definitely having a bit of a party. He was enjoying himself. Prince Teddy says the British referees in boxing and football are poor. Jack Napier says thoughts on the Tank fight. Yeah, we'll get to that at the end of the show. We'll get our final thoughts on that. We'll end it with that, as that's tonight's action. And yeah, and like you say with Bradley Skeet, my thing with Bradley is that some fighters have that one night, that twilight night, that fight which makes or breaks your career. And I thought that was it for Bradley Skeet. I think the rematch does him no favors. He's more war battled. That knockout last night and them extra shots on the ground wasn't doing him no favors. He looked pretty rough this
Yeah,
morning. So 34-35 and you've been beat up like that at the end of the fight. It wasn't great. I don't think he would win the rematch as great as I think you are, Bradley Skeet. And I've got so much respect for you. I just feel like in the rematch, Hamzat will learn his mistakes, and I feel like he would come on strong and maybe get an early stoppage. That's just my personal opinion on that. But if he did get the rematch, what I think justice would be is if the British Border Control ruled it a no contest and order the rematch. And I
yeah,
think for Hamza, why not come back and get a correct stoppage? That would put your stock up high. It would say to people, you got the minerals about you. You're willing to fight someone who was beating you in a fight, and you can come back. You saw his reaction at the end. He was so happy that he got the stoppage because he knew he was in a fight. So
mm,
it showed to him that he definitely was in a fight. I think he thought he might have walked through this opponent. Um, which you do have that confidence when you're unbeaten. You've got a lot of people saying great things, which is rightly deserved. Sometimes the smoke gets blown up your ass and you need a reality check. And last night was a reality check. Like you said, hopefully Hamza can get some better sparring in, get some better slick boxers, some slick movers, and learn some more trades. Because if you're going to go in with Anthony Fowler, which actually Anthony Fowler probably would suit him. He's not really a slick boxer. He's got a good jab, but I think maybe that would probably suit Hamza. Troy Williamson would be a hard fight after last night. I think Troy Williamson is a dark horse. I
Yeah,
know he beat Ted Cheeseman. He doesn't really
big
get the
hitter.
high, big hit. Doesn't really get the high media spoke about him that much.
Hmm.
But he's a great champion. Ted Cheeseman would be ideal for Hamza. I think he would just come on to big shots. It'd be ideal. Trying to think of what slick boxers in that division would really cause him any problems, because Bradley Ski performed at British level, European level last night. I definitely thought that.
Can't think of any particularly slick 154 fighters in the UK. But
Yeah,
when I spoke to Hamza a fortnight ago, he was saying he's hoping a year from now, this time next year, to be sort of in the world level picture. And at world level, there will be slick guys, and even
yeah.
the guys who aren't slick are slick, if you get me. So even the pressure fighters, their pressure is going to be a lot more sophisticated than the sort of guys he's been fighting. So yeah, look, hopefully this might. I mean, he's not the first prospect to have a lucky win. In years to come, this might be forgotten about, like Tyson Fury's fight against John McDermott all them years ago, which many people thought
Only if he
McDermott
comes
got
back.
robbed.
Tyson
But
Fury come
yeah,
back and ripped that wrong though, didn't he? And I think he
exactly.
can do it.
And similarly, Roy Jones immediately rematched Montel Griffin. So,
Yeah,
so I hope
that's the way you
Hamza
got to go.
I hope he does give Skeet the rematch if Skeet wants it. Give him plenty of time to recover and a full training camp and all of that, and let's see where he can go.
People are saying Josh Kelly at 154. I think Josh Kelly needs a few fights at 154. Hamza is a big guy at 154. For me, he's settled in that weight. He's comfortable. And as I said, I need to see more after 4 rounds from Josh Kelly before he starts fighting these sort of fighters and that. Because as we've seen it at 147, he's definitely not got the tank to go past 4 rounds.
I
So
wonder why Neutral Corner thinks Josh Kelly's actually slick, because again, yeah, he does a lot of flashy moves and feints and all of that, but Avanesian shows he isn't actually that hard to get to. So
yeah, his defense is very limited. For 4 rounds, he looks like a world beater. I said this before. First four
mm,
rounds, you say this guy's world class, and there's no me blowing smoke up his ass. He looks fantastic. But as soon as the 4th round ends and he comes out for the 5th round, it's like a completely different fighter. We saw it when he fought Robinson in America, and then we see it in the Avanesian fight because he done well the first 4 rounds against David Avanesian, and then Avanesian showed why he's such a beast as a European champion, and obviously looking to fight for world honours in the next couple of months, maybe, or at the end of next year. So we'll see where he can go. He's definitely going to be in them big fights. Prince Teddy says Shiraz versus Sam Egerton. Wow, that'd be a war. Sam
exciting
Egerton can take
fight,
a beating.
absolutely exciting fight, but yeah, what does Sam Eggington or Ted Cheeseman get out of that fight?
Just another highlight reel fight, really, where they took a beating.
Yeah, I mean,
I think
come on,
Shiraz would
guys,
definitely win both of them.
have a heart. These guys, they need some brain cells for the rest of their lives. I mean,
Yeah, and then I think the fans are trying to retire these guys before they're 30. Like I think that they're throwing them in. Ted Cheeseman is definitely he's 26, but he's aged to about 40 in boxing years.
yeah,
He's like a 40-year-old boxer.
yeah,
Like
yeah,
he's been too
absolutely.
many. Kieran Conway, that would be interesting. The thing with Kieran Conway is though, he fights in these big fights. He looks like a god. He's got like his physique looks great. But he looks like he hits hard, but he just doesn't knock anyone out. It's confusing. I see him.
He's
He looks like he's got a bit of pop, but he doesn't ever seem
he
to take anyone out.
yeah. I mean, I was the Sissoko fight showed that because he was losing on points quite handily. Had Sissoko down, I think it was in the ninth, and you'd have thought he'd have stepped on the gas to try and get him out of there, but he just sort of yeah, there was no sense of urgency. He is very much a safety first fighter. Well, as people pointed out, that actually be an interesting fight for
Yeah,
Shiraz because he's
and I
not
think
someone who'll just walk on the shot. So
yeah, and I think he needs a couple more of them fights before he moves up to like European level, maybe.
mm,
Because I think if you interviewed him 2 weeks ago, I think if you interviewed him tomorrow, after
mm,
that fight at the weekend, he may be speaking a bit differently to about them world. Obviously, he's going to have ambitions to fight for a world title, and I love that. I love a fighter that wants that world title shot. But I think after the weekend, he's going to realise now he's been in a fight, I may need to step up my sparring, like you said, and I may need to have a couple more tougher fights before I get in there. Because you don't want to get in there and fall short or fall really short where people don't think you belong at that level. As we're going to the main event now, I'll go into it with Anthony Yarde when he went and fought Kololev. He jumped too fast. He went to that
mm,
fight without no middle fights, no world class fights, no world class journeymen. He literally went from British level or European journeymen straight up into that world title fight. And what he did in that fight is he didn't discredit himself that far where people threw him straight out of that world title picture. Then I know he lost to Lyndon Arthur, which look, it was a split decision. As I say, horses for courses. You have whoever you want to win that fight. They had the rematch. We're going to it. I'll kick it off. I had Lyndon Arthur winning it going in there. I know a lot of people had Yard. My reason is I'm a jab man. I love a jab. Everything comes from a jab. I'm all about basics because if you do the basics correct, 9 times out of 10 you're going to win in boxing. And I think a lot of fighters look too much into game plans. They think I'm going to do this, do that. But if you just use your jab correctly, you work the body, just get off whatever your attributes are, whether you're an orthodox or southpaw, which may be the straight shot or the hook, you'll be fine. And then things after that you can work off. But the jab I thought would have been key again. And Anthony Yarde, credit to you, sir. You come into that fight and you shown Anthony Joshua, if you're watching, how to get close to a fighter that's slick with a jab. And look, I know, look, Lyndon Arthur isn't Usyk, but he's a fighter that's got a great jab. He's very slick, and in the first fight, you saw what he could do. And Anthony Yarde and Tunde, let's give him credit as well for a coach. They looked at they went to the drawing board, and sometimes these fighters and these trainers, when they're a bit arrogant, a bit cocky, and I'm not disrespecting anyone because I love Tunde and I love Anthony Yarde, but sometimes you need to be humbled in life. And I feel like Pat Barrett and Lyndon Arthur humbled them, and they're going to become greater from that. And I think I saw an interview with Tunde where he said Pat Barrett made him step it up as a coach. And I feel like that's what happened. You saw it with the needle in the build up, obviously with the loss in the first fight. And their game plan was absolutely spot on. Lyndon Arthur, what were you smoking, my friend? Because you looked like you did not want to be there. You were too chilled out for my liking. I don't know whether he's coming to the end with Frank Warren and he just wanted this fight out. For me, it felt like he didn't really want to be in there. I don't know if it was different for people there live or other people watching it, or whether Anthony Yarde was absolutely top dog and he was on it. I think that's part of it. I think Anthony Yarde's game plan was fantastic. But I just thought, I know Lyndon Arthur's a bit, he's a bit like that anyway, a bit casual, a bit slick, a bit. He's not, even when he talks, he's not very animated, and I respect that because I know many people that are like that, and that's just their character. But I just felt like as soon as that first bell went, you saw who wanted it and who didn't want it as much. And I don't know whether the stoppage was too early. I thought the ref could have allowed it to go on. I felt he took his time. You saw him, and you saw Sonny Edwards in the crowd saying, "Take your time, get up on the 8 count." He got up on the 8 count, and then the ref stopped it. I don't know whether he saw
very
something in
strange.
his eyes. I thought he
I,
could have carried on.
yeah, I thought that was another strange stoppage, like the Isaac Lowe one, but in a different
Yeah,
way. Because as you said, he weren't even hit. I mean, even when I watched the replays, he weren't hit with like a real clean shot straight through his head. There was sort of like a accumulation, like sort of half landing on the sides of his head.
yeah.
And he went down and immediately got to one knee. So it weren't like he was flat on his back and rolling around. He fell on his side, immediately was up onto a knee, beat the count, and I think, like you said, by 8. But the strange thing was when it was waved off, he didn't complain.
No, and that's
That
what got me.
was very strange. I didn't see the fight the way you did actually, but however long it lasted, I didn't get the vibe from Lyndon that he weren't bothered or that he didn't want to be there. Um, yeah, he looked like he was struggling with the pressure and power. But I thought, okay, he's doing a lot of smothering, wrestling, leaning on Yard
But no jab.
without, but no jab. But I thought, okay, they've alluded that this has been something people have said about Yard for quite a while now. You know, he's got that heavily muscled physique. Like 3 rounds, 4 rounds, how long can he keep this up? Maybe, and I was talking to people around me, noticing Lyndon was doing a lot of grappling and leaning on him because he's a much taller man. I thought, yeah, you know what, especially with a muscular guy like Yard, this can all be draining his tank after 4 rounds of all of this explosive attacks. How much will his gas tank hold up? Is that what Lyndon's tactics are? That's what I thought. But then you had that dramatic sudden ending, which didn't make sense to me either. So I didn't get the impression from his body language that there was anything like he didn't fancy it or didn't want to be in there. It was more. I thought it was more a case of, all right, he's struggling, but he's hanging in there, biding his time for a few rounds, and maybe he's planning on coming on in the second half of the fight. That's how I interpret it. But the
I
end
had it the
came how it
same,
ended.
bro. I had your thought process until the stoppage, like you say. And then when he didn't complain, I kind of looked at it again and thought, okay, I'm going to try and fit these pieces together. One, I know he's not happy with Frank Warren. I know that, like I think Frank said after the show, it says it in the comments. Lyndon's now a free agent. I thought that was the case. I know they've had a few disputes. Frank done it before when he went head to head with Joe Joyce and Daniel Dubois. He edged his bets onto Daniel Dubois. Daniel Dubois got beat, and the next thing he's all up on Joe Joyce's nuts. Do you know what I mean? Like Joe Joyce is the best thing since sliced bread. The Juggernaut's my man. Frank, this 80s style promoting that you do sometimes is a bit boring. And I love you, Frank. I think you're great for the sport. but when you go toe to toe, at least try and be a bit diplomatic. At least Eddie Hearn tries to lie to us and try and pretend that he's neutral on both sides. And then he gives the other guy an opportunity afterwards. Do you know what I mean? If they give a good account of themselves. If Joe Joyce got beat by Daniel Dubois, Joe Joyce would not be with Frank Warren right now. Let's get that right. Frank Warren would have edged it to Daniel Dubois, and Joe Joyce probably would have been with Boxer or even with DAZN now. That's facts. Because Joe Joyce beat his man and is in a great position at the top of the rankings, Frank stuck with him. Good business by Frank. Then he goes and does it with Lyndon Arthur, and then Yarde. Warren thought Yarde was going to smash Arthur up last year. That's what he edged his bets on, and that's why there was a bit of. And for me, I thought Arthur won it quite comfortably last year. I thought it was a unanimous decision for me. Split decision, okay, fair enough. It makes it interesting for a rematch. But I thought Arthur performed very well. That's why I had him favourite going into this fight because he had a great jab and he boxed well and apparently he had one hand. And I thought 2 clean hands, use a good jab, it worked well, but it didn't happen. Yarde performed very well. He was absolutely fantastic. Stopped the distance very well. I think what his game plan was to stop him using the jab, which is get in close, and then when I am in close, just have no respect for him and just try and hit him wherever I can hit him. There wasn't really any game plan for Yarde's work. It was like what you said when he knocked him down. I think there were 2 cuffing shots to the temple area, to the side, and then basically it was balance that knocked him down. What it was is he lost his balance and he thought I'd take a knee. As you said, he took the knee straight away onto one knee, got up very convincingly, and then the ref stopped it for some strange reason. And then, like you say, there was no argument, no nothing like that. That really got to me, and I thought he obviously wants to get out of this Frank Warren situation, and maybe that situation was eating him up more than this fight itself. Maybe the bigger picture for him was, I need to get out of this. If I win this, I'm still with Frank Warren. Because it says in there, maybe there was an agreement that he may have stayed on after. I'm not too sure what the contracted
Interesting.
deal would have been.
Interesting
It
because
just doesn't make sense. Sonny Edwards has just left Frank, who's his best friend, and they're going to talk to each other. It happens in boxing. You've seen his
is that
cousin
confirmed?
go to the zone.
Is that
What's
confirmed that Sonny Edwards has left Queensbury?
Yeah, he's been gone a few weeks now. He's with Pro Bellum. Um,
The last tweet I read, though, someone asked, Sonny's very active on Twitter. Someone asked him, "Aren't you with Queensbury anymore?" He said, "No, Uncle Frank arranged this with Pro Bellum." So
oh, if
the
I'm wrong, then let me
Pro
know.
Bellum apparently work with everyone. I think that's their shtick. So I don't know, but I think you're right because even in some of the interviews beforehand, Arthur alluded to it that
Mm.
look, we all know Yard is Frank Warren's pet, and he's going to look after his pet. He said something up to that extent, and all through the build up to this, Pat Barrett has been quite vocal about saying that we all know that if the result of the first fight had gone the other way, Yard would be getting cracked at the WBO world title. He wouldn't be getting pressured to take any rematches. So would they really be okay with taking an L? I mean,
Sometimes for a clean slate, Rod, because he could go to a new promotion now, get backed again. He's already fought at that level. He's already got a win over Yard. That's good on your record. He's
yeah.
got that win there. And let's get it right here. Someone said in the comments here, if Lyndon Arthur went over to the zone, he will favour Joshua Buatsi. No, Eddie's clever. Eddie will put them not with each other and go for separate world titles. The thing what Frank seems to like to do is he has one in a higher position with a ranking, and what he'll try and do is he'll get his favourite fighter to fight and try and nick that ranking and hope that his fighter wins, like with Arthur. He thought, oh, Yarde take his WBO spot, he'd do all this, he'd do that. But what if Frank was backing Arthur so well, why is Arthur not fighting Joe Smith Jr. instead of Callum Johnson
Mm.
when Arthur is the number one WBO ranked? Why was he not getting that
It's
shot?
strange, especially
Because
as I think,
because now he's going to give it Yard. I guarantee Yard gets the shot next. I guarantee now
yeah,
he's got
yeah,
that number one ranking. He's going to
I
fight the
think
winner of that.
absolutely because I think Arthur might have stylistically been harder for Joe Smith Jr. than someone like Callum Johnson. Um, because yeah, when Arthur's on point with his boxing, Joe Smith Jr. is not exactly particularly sophisticated fighter himself, is he? So
Yeah.
yeah, I don't know. Maybe in the coming weeks or months, now that Lyndon's free of Queensbury, maybe he'll reveal some of his things they have with them. Like I said, he's already alluded to it. They're not happy that they've been pressured into this against their own interests. But yeah, we'll see.
I'm gutted as well because, as I say, respect to Anthony Yard. Before I go any further, I want to say great performance from Anthony Yard. He put in the work. He got the game plan to a T. Tunde as well, fantastic work for your team. And hopefully, look, and if you get that world title shot, fantastic. It's not that I don't want you to get it. I'm just saying, just look at the way that Frank treated Lyndon to how he treated Yard, and I'm just showing people the difference in perspective of what you will see next. You won't see Anthony Yard probably having a tune-up fight. It'll probably be ringside for the Callum Johnson fight, and he'll be fighting the winner of that. And it's worked out well for Frank. So for Frank, well done. But and someone said in the comments before I go any further, look what Eddie Hearn done with Dillian and AJ. Yeah, he put them on separate paths. But the thing with the WBC is it all went tits up. We've seen what happened with the WBC. So they went down a different route to try and make that massive British fight where he would have been the WBC champ and AJ would have been the other three world title holder. And look, it tits up. But Eddie does try and do that. He does. You never really see Eddie Hearn put two people really at that level before world level. That he normally likes to mix it up a little bit. Frank, the other hand, I'll give you a couple of examples already. He does throw him in there quite early and hope for the best. He even done it with Daniel Jabbar and Nathan Gorman. So
Hmm.
he does like to edge his bets, and he basically he's like a roulette player. Frank, he throws down. It's either red or black, and it goes for it. But sometimes I don't like it because you can see his favour, and you saw it last night when he was in the changing rooms with Anthony Yard. He was grinning from side to side, chuffed to bits. You didn't see that in the first fight with Lyndon Arthur. He looked like he just ate an onion and he didn't know what to say, and it's awkward. That's what I find awkward when you got two fighters you promote, and you see the promoter, i.e. Frank, when it ain't gone his way, you can read his face, and I don't like that, because even when Eddie, one of his fighters don't win, at least he can put the fake smile on and like do what you're meant to do in your job, and not let people realise that you've took maybe a hit here, because it makes people sceptical, and there's a lot of iffy things on the Queenbury shows. Let's be real here. Steve Gray last night for starters. If it goes to a referee decision with a Frank Warren judge or ref, you know it's going to Frank Warren's fighter, i.e. David Adelaide versus Sokolowski. That was
Exactly.
definitely a 20 quid in your back pocket.
I think, as you said, if Frank's playing roulette, I think Eddie's he's playing chess, and he's always looking for the checkmate.
Yeah.
That's probably their different approaches. Yeah, I mean, look, this is what I always tell fighters that I know: never forget, promoters ain't your friend. Yeah, they're not your friends. It doesn't matter how charming they are; they're looking out for their own interests. I think some fighters do get it. I mean, Joe Joyce is an interesting example. I think he knows, but he's weighed things up and accepts. Okay, I weren't Frank's first choice, but over at Matchroom, I'd probably be fifth choice. So he thought, all right,
And
yeah.
also, he probably said that he said to Uncle Frank, "I've done your boy up my contract." So now Joe
Yeah,
Joyce is probably one of the top earners over there. So he probably
I,
put
th- I
himself in a
think
good
so.
business place.
And obviously, Joey is an older, more mature fighter. Obviously, he's quite educated. I know he's not much of a speaker, but I think he's probably highly intelligent away from the
Yeah.
ring and knows how to protect his interests. And he's got a great management team. So, what are people saying in the comments? Yeah, so
Yeah, Frank's
any
already
other
said
fight?
Yard's going to fight the winner.
Well, that's presuming Johnson beats Smith. Much as
Yeah.
I'm sure we're all cheering for him. I'd love it to bring that title back, but at
Well,
that
Yard will probably
level,
get it anyway. It's mandatory though, because this is a voluntary defence. The next
oh,
one will be a mandatory. So he's number one.
yeah.
So either
Either
way,
way, yeah,
yeah,
either way.
Yard's got his shot.
How do you think Yard would do against Joe Smith Jr.?
It's a tough one, because Joe Smith Jr. is one of them fighters where he's not one where you'd say he's electric or he does anything great, but he's a top solid opponent. He beat Bernard Hopkins. I know Hopkins was at the end of his career. Like, you can't really say too much into that, but he's a world title holder, as I alluded to the other week when people were saying Alungu Makubu is the weaker of the WBC champions. I never disrespect any world champion, because there's many great fighters that haven't even become a world champion. So I'd say Joe. I think he does get overlooked a lot, Smith Jr. But he's a world champion, so he's obviously got something about him, and I think Yard's in a better position now to challenge for the world title than when he fought Kovalev. Even though I think Kovalev was a better opponent, just for experience wise and what's happened from that fight onwards. I know he's got another loss on that, but he come back last night, writ that wrong. A lot more experience. As I say, I think it humbled Anthony Yarde a little bit, that second loss, and Tunde, and they've improved, and that's all you want in life, in any type of life, and in boxing especially. And I always say this: a loss isn't a loss unless you give up. You got to learn from it. If you don't learn from it, then you're going to make the same mistakes. And I feel like they've looked at what happened and they've made some improvements. Because look, certain fighters, they're not going to go from being a power puncher, aggressive style, to next time you see him, Muhammad Ali. Do you know what I mean? They're not going to be dancing around the ring, throwing jabs out there and doing the things. So you just got to adapt the best you can, and try and improve of what you got. And Anthony Yarde, I think what he's done really well is he's closed the distance very well. He's learned how to close the distance very well and use your attributes. Get in there and just rough the guy up when you're up close. Lean on him a little bit if you need to, and just rough him up a little bit. So I think Anthony Yarde's got a good shot. I don't know if he'll win the world title if he gets there. I think the Callum Johnson fight would be a good fight. I think that would just be a shootout. I think, you know what Callum Johnson's like. It's either he's going to knock you out or he's going to get knocked down. I think after his last performance, he definitely didn't deserve a world title shot. That was a tough fight he had. And I think he made that tough. It wasn't an opponent where you thought, oh, this is going to be a hard night for Callum Johnson. I think it was a bit of a get him out there. He should walk through this guy pretty easy. And he ended up, I think he got dropped, but they didn't even give it, if I'm right in so, in that fight. yeah, he took a bit of a punishment in that fight, but he got the victory nonetheless. I would have liked to have maybe have seen Callum Johnson versus the winner of Yarde Arthur, and then the winner of that fight for the world title. But look, you're in this game to win world titles, and if Callum Johnson's got that opportunity, as we saw before when he fought for the world title, with short notice, he's going to give it all he's got. So that Yard's going to have a chance against the winner. But do you think, before we move on, do you think that Johnson will win the world title?
Yes, with a very biased pro-British hat on. Yes, I do.
Okay, that's good. No, I like that. I like that.
He can bang. I think his boxing ability is underrated, probably because he's neglected it for a while now. People forget he was part of that Team GB generation, when AJ and that whole generation were there. So he has got a good technical background. It's his last chance. And Joe Smith Jr., I think, style-wise, is a better option for him than someone like, say, Bivol, who is obviously very technical. So yeah, I'm not confident in saying that. It is a fairly 50-50 fight, but I'm gonna say yeah. I do think he'll bring it home.
Yeah, we do it for the Britons. We're always back our own, and hopefully he can bring that strap back, and we get a world title fight with Anthony Yarde in the UK, and that'd be a great night out. I'm sure Rara will be there if that fight gets made, and it'd be a great night of boxing. So yeah, that'd be absolutely fantastic. Prince Teddy says in the comments, Lyndon Arthur should join Sky Sports. He could be one of the main guys, and I've said this about Sky and Boxer when it first got announced. A lot of these fighters can become big fish in these ponds where at the moment they're small fish in big ponds. So yeah, 100%. I think that's a great. We've seen Fraser Clark make that move too. So yeah, that's a great shout out there, Prince Teddy. And look, we're going to the DAZN show now. We had some great fights over there last night. I won't go into too many of them too much because obviously we're going to Haney, the main event, and I like to end it with the Gervonta Davis fight tonight as well. But yeah, Montana Love last night, the guy didn't make weight. I don't like that. I think if you're a professional, you sign a contract. Both people agree to whatever the weight should be. One thing I don't like is lack of discipline and lack of respect in that aspect. So for me, he has a little, I'd say, a couple of points off his marking. If we're going to mark it out of 10, I'll have to take that off there. But for skill wise, entertainment wise, for attributes and what I think he can bring to this division, I think he's fantastic. Coming out with his puppy. I love dogs. I'm an animal lover. So for me, I didn't know if it was cruel or it was kind because obviously a dog, you're going into that sort of atmosphere, is going to be a bit intimidated, a bit scared. So
French bullies are okay in that atmosphere.
yeah, I
They love
saw
the
that. I saw the
incentives.
dog. Yeah, I saw the dog was all right. So I was happy with that. He was the main attraction for me. He was a beautiful dog, fantastic, and I love that Montana Love's obviously a great dog lover as well. Yeah, I just love this guy's charisma. Eddie said he first saw him when he fought who was the guy at Baranchik when he fought him. He said that was the first time he saw him. I've seen Montana Love a couple of times before that, so
Okay.
I'm shocked that as Eddie's a massive promoter, that it was that fight that he got to saw it. And it was obviously on the Jake Paul won the card as well. So, but full credit, Eddie said he made an inquiry. He didn't have a promoter, which I'm shocked about. It shows you how bad boxing is in America with the promoters and all that. They're letting these gems slide through their fingers. But
Yeah.
yeah, in this division, right, I think he can definitely be a main star.
Yeah. I mean, he's a great character. No mean boxing ability. He's the son of Julian Love, I believe. So
Is he?
I think Julian was his dad.
Wow. Okay. Or maybe I
So,
should have clicked on with his last name. I didn't realise
no,
that was the case. But obviously, he comes
I've,
from a
I've
good
only
stud.
I've only cottoned on because on his social media, Julian is often commenting or making comments, and I don't know for sure. I'm just putting two and two together based on their
Let us know in the
reputation.
comments if you guys in
And
the comments know. Then let us know definitely.
they're both from Cleveland. Yeah, great talent. He says he'd fight Josh Taylor next, which I think wishful thinking. But for the post Josh Taylor undisputed scene, he's going to definitely be a player at 140. great talent. Devin Haney on that show, for me, it's all about Devin Haney. I'm a big fan of his. Don't know about you. I've always thought of the so-called Four Kings. I always thought he would possibly be the best, even though people, are so hung up on his seeming lack of punch power. But I actually just think for his technical ability and ring IQ, I think he's the most versatile. That's not to say I think he'd beat all of them. I think if all of these great lightweights, if they all fought each other, none of them would remain unbeaten. And of course, already a couple of them have been beaten. So, but if you're
But
going to
they've
look
been beaten by guys that they shouldn't have been beaten to. Not that like, in respect of they're not
yeah,
the other
true.
four kings.
In
They're not
the
the other
case
four
of
kings.
Lopez, yeah, you're right. Is it 4 kings now? Is it 5 or 6
I think
or
let's
7?
scrap the king. Let's scrap the kings and just say the top 10 in the 140 division are beasts. Let's get it right. There's about 10 of them.
135, you mean?
Oh yeah, 135. Sorry, because
Lightweight.
we were going on.
Yeah.
Yeah, because we were
Yeah,
on
you're
about top
right.
10 alone.
I don't
Sorry.
think anyone has
And
nobody can
Lomachenko's
now
still there.
claim to be. Yeah, he's still there. Ryan Garcia, as far as I'm concerned, is out of the picture. You can't go missing.
Right. Let's go into Ryan Garcia before we go on to the main event. We'll go through these kings. We're calling the top 10, the top 10 kings of the 135 division. Ryan Garcia, mate, you're just a social media boxer, mate. You're just another. You might as well say you're like Jake Paul. Yeah, you beat Luke Campbell. Fair play, fair play. Another generation. Luke Campbell would have been a world champion. He was just unfortunate that he had killers in his division at that time. As I was alluding to earlier, he's one of them great fighters that was never a world champion. And that's his only really significant fight. All I hear is this guy chat shit online. He's either look, I'm one for mental health people. I would never discredit someone's mental health. But mate, if you're gonna recover and say that's what you're doing, get off social media and stop piping up, getting involved in people's business. Just sit at home, recover, and if you are gonna come back with a contract signed, and we'll get behind you. Because all you do is say embarrassing. You beat Luke Campbell. You FaceTiming Tank Davis, or you FaceTiming people saying we're gonna fight next, mate. Your words mean nothing. Words are cheap when it comes to Ryan Garcia, and it's disappointing because I see talent in him. I see he could definitely be a top quality fighter, but you cannot
Absolutely.
become a mandatory or fight for an eliminator, then fight someone else and then offer to fight another champion when you've already had an opportunity to fight one of the other champions, i.e. Devin Haney. I personally think he don't want that smoke. Devin Haney schooled him as an amateur. I think they've got a couple of wins over each other. I don't actually know the proper, but I know Devin Haney, I think, got the better of him in amateurs and when they fought. So maybe that's why he wants to get around with it. Ra, I know why you're my sparring partner tonight, because you're the only person we ever had on here that agrees with Devin Haney. I know a lot of people like Joe and Kenny say, look, he's a great fighter, but I have him as one of the best in there. I don't want to say he's like Floyd Mayweather, but he's like Floyd Mayweather. Let's get it right. Early in Floyd Mayweather's career, he fights like him. He's not very entertaining at times. Who cares? Who cares when you're racking up the victories? Floyd Mayweather didn't care about the victories until he got to the last 10, 15 fights of his career. When he had to scrape his way to getting these big fights, he earned the right. And Devin Haney's 23 years old and he's 27-0. 27-0. Can't give this man credit in that. I think a lot of people don't give him the credit because it's like with Andrade. There are fighters out there, especially in America. These promoters, i.e. Bob Arum and whoever's out there, bloody Espinoza and whoever's out there, bloody Leonard Ellaby, what they see is they look at the amateur ranks, they see how their fighters done in the amateurs and that, and if there's someone that got the better of their fighter or someone who was a great amateur, they just keep well clear of them. They don't go nowhere near him. If they can't sign them, they make sure their fighters don't fight him because they think this is a tough guy. Do you know what I mean? And Devin Haney has got that reputation. He's absolutely fantastic. And look, I like his attitude now. The last maybe year, you've seen this edge to him. Before, it was nice boy Devin Haney. Now you're seeing him, he's bitch talking fighters in the press conference like Jojo Diaz. Last night, he said, I'd be ashamed to be to have anything with my name to do with franchise. Keep that franchise title away from me. I don't want to be associated with that. That's what we're talking about. That's a fan talking. We don't even want a franchise. The only franchise I like is a McDonald's. Do you know what I mean? And that's a massive franchise. But look, I don't want to see any fighters saying they want to be franchise champion. Whoever says that Teofimo Lopez was undisputed champion is wrong. As Eddie Hearn says, he should have been. He beat the best in the division, but the WBC screwed him over. And if you look at the list, he isn't an undisputed fighter. He should have been, but maybe he should have fought Devin Haney instead of Cambosis Jr. And I know there's a lot of medical stuff coming out about Teofimo Lopez over the weekend. Obviously, I don't know how much is true. Obviously, if he did have that medical problem, what a warrior. He's a warrior anyway. But I don't want any of that to go from George Cambosis Jr. because a lot of that will go now. A lot of people will say, look, the only reason he beat him was because of that. It could be true, but look, the result, when we look back in 20 years' time, it's going to say George Cambosis Jr. beat Lopez. It ain't going to say he beat him, but also in brackets say he had water on the lung or water in the chest or whatever issue he had. The result is he took a loss. So, look, I'm surprised with all this medical stuff they get in boxing, all these medical checks in the week of the fight. Maybe they need to start looking at their medical checks because if they didn't see that in the build up to the fight,
that's why I'm skeptical about his claim. It's like, don't these fighters take pre-fight medicals? And if they do, then are we saying that these pre-fight medicals are so slack that they're like the medicals of the 1800s where they just sort of listen to your heart? Yeah, it's still beating. Fine, you think you're good to fight? No, I mean,
I think they just give him the nod. They go, "Are you good to fight? Yeah, I'm good to fight. Yeah, let's go." Like back in them days, white collar stuff.
Yeah, yeah. I mean, Prince Teddy in the chat. I like what he's saying. Haney, best counter puncher in the game. Absolutely spot on. That's why I've got a lot of faith in him.
Yeah, me too.
Okay, I know casuals, they want to see a spectacular knockout, and that's why someone like Tank Davis is obviously a lot more box office. But I think if you're going to look at the overall, when 10 years from now, when we look back at all of these guys' careers, my money's on Devin to actually probably have the best sort of career. Seems to be the most dedicated, most eager to fight everyone. As Prince is saying, he's fighting regularly. I mean, as you said, Ryan Garcia, come on. As soon as Lopez loses, you want to jump to the front of the queue and fight Cambosis. The fuck out of here, as Americans say.
Yeah, get the fuck out of it, and also get some respect. Don't jump on George Cambosis Jr. like he's a weakling. I hate that. It's like it's like if you're man enough to fight, then fight the best when the best are there. Like you had a chance to fight Devin Haney, Garcia. You said no. Then you went down another route and you tried fighting another world champion, or you wanted to go down that route. But then you backed out your fight for personal reasons. Respect. If you've got personal reasons, take a step out for 6 months or a year. You're young enough. But he wasn't even gone that long. A couple of weeks later, he's on social media again. He's saying he wants to fight this person, fight that person. If your mental state isn't correct, surely that's not the correct mental state to be going down. You're there just calling people out when you're not mentally right. So for me, that was confusing me a bit. Maybe you need to get out of Oscar De La Hoya's shadow a little bit, leave Golden Boy and maybe branch off. And maybe Canelo leaving was a big thing for fighters. They should have realised if the big guy Canelo's going, there's got to be problems here. And I think Ryan Garcia is under that illusion that he's going to be the next Oscar De La Hoya. Why don't you be the next Ryan Garcia? There's only one Oscar De La Hoya. There's one Floyd Mayweather. There's one Canelo. Be your own man. Be your own fighter. Maybe branch out. And if you want respect, just fight people. Even if you lost to some of these fighters, but you give your best account, you will get respect. As we said earlier with Isaac Lowe, he lost. But how much respect did me and Ra give him tonight and said how well he done and how his stock's gone up? That would be the same for Garcia. If he went in with a Haney and you lost a unanimous decision, who cares? Look at Jojo Diaz. We're getting to that fight now. He's come up a weight. You could see Devin Haney was the bigger man in there. Devin had the skills. Devin was the better fighter. But Jojo Diaz didn't give up at one stage in that fight. He kept going. He was there till the final bell. A few times that southpaw stance, he connected with Devin Haney with a few left hands. 12th round, he come out fighting. look, he didn't win, but a lot of credit for Jojo Diaz, and here come again. And this is what you want. If you're going to be in this sport, do what you're meant to do in this sport, and that's fight. I'm fed up of these fighters that want to spend a year on the sidelines, just social media and it. They fight once a year, once every 2 years. No, that's what Canelo set the standard now as a world champion. If he can do that as a world champion, fight 4 or 5 times in a year, these younger fighters have got no excuse because they're not on the same purses as Canelo.
Exactly, and when you're in your early 20s, obviously you got that much quicker sort of recovery time. I just wondered whether these youngsters, they put so much stock in this into the social media. Is it because of that they also will get affected so much more by the online trolls and haters that
Yeah,
they're then scared
100%.
to lose? Because I mean,
Yeah,
can't imagine, in a bygone era, people, some of these great fighters caring because some unknown numbskull will start criticizing you for losing a fight. Because let's be real, no one's going up to these fighters and telling them to their face, "You're a load of rubbish," are they?
exactly.
Apart from other fighters,
Exactly.
so it's all
Yeah.
online. Yeah, it could be. It might just be that generation that the social media is such a part of their life that they almost can't extricate themselves from it. I don't know if any of the guys in the chat are that young and can probably tell some of us older guys whether that is the case or not. But
I think it's
yeah,
a big part of it. I think it's a massive part of it. And I think what they do is they get eluded into this social media world of the likes, the follows, and everything, of the comments and stuff like that. And at the end of the day, it all means nothing until you get in that ring. You got one opponent. That's what you got to focus on. And I think that these fighters these days, they need to, like a lot of these ex-fighters, let's say these ex-fighters say it's 70% mental, the other 30% is obviously talent and hard work that you put in. And if these fighters are mentally weak with the social media follows, like you say, these people that are never going to meet, these people that are not even going to have half the talent that you've got in that sport, they're never going to come to your face and say you're shit. You're letting them affect you. Then how are you going to be mentally fit for fight night? Do you know what I'm saying? Like to go to war because you're
mm,
already in your mind, you're battling what happens if I lose this fight. So you're already self doubting and self believing yourself before you step in the ring and that. And it's just I've seen what I liked about Anthony Fowler when he lost to a couple of weeks ago. He just bounced back straight on social media. He said, "Look, I took the loss." That's the best way for these fighters to react. Not give a shit about what people think. Just show people you're a real person. And as I say, if you take a loss as a learning curve, as you know, Ra, I think
mm,
fans respect the fighters totally because one thing you don't want is a sore loser. And we got that last week with Teofimo Lopez when after the
mm,
fight in there. It was very bitter because if he lost that fight, which he did do that, lost that fight, I think if he wasn't such a sore loser, a lot of fighters would have said, "Wow, what a warrior! That was a great fight. That I wouldn't mind seeing that fight again." But because he's a
exactly.
sore loser, it takes that tint off it, and you're like, I ain't got time for you. Like, you could have given the guy respect. He didn't win that fight. Let's be real. Look at his. Even I think George Kambosos said to it, "Look at your face." When he was trying to tell George Kambosos that he thought George Kambosos won 2 rounds. Like,
Mm,
mate, you definitely got hit with a few big shots. That first knockdown, and that humbled Teofimo. Let's get it right. That first big knockdown in that first round, because he come out like a bull in a china shop. He was all over Cambosis Jr. Took that big right hand, and it was like, whoa, wait up a minute. This guy's got a bit of power. And I know I love the bond between him and his dad, but his dad was blowing smoke up his ass so bad that it was getting borderline ludicrous corner work. I thought it was
mm,
one of the worst corner jobs I've seen in boxing. And I said this last time I think we were on the show, was that I'm fed up of Teofimo's dad and him talking too much. You got to walk the walk. You can't just talk the talk. And for about a year since they beat Lomachenko, they were saying they were the best thing since Sugar Ray Leonard. They're all this. Do you know what I mean? It was. Look, you beat Lomachenko. Fair play. Great, great, great thing to do. But you needed more behind you to back up what you were saying. And in that fight, some of that corner work was shoddy. But yeah, we'll go back to the Devin Haney fight last night. Let me know, right? What did you love last night about Devin's performance? And let's not get away from Jojo Diaz. Was there anything you liked about Jojo Diaz, and what didn't you like what Jojo Diaz done? What could he have done better?
To be honest, I always thought Jojo is limited in terms of what he can do. He's a classic pressure fighter. What could he have done any different? I think he gave his all. I think that style-wise, Haney being the slick counter puncher was always going to do that to him. Only thing I think Haney could have done better is step on the gas and try and stop him. But Jojo is pretty tough, smaller than Devin, but nevertheless tough. I think Haney, if he'd made the stoppage, it would have helped Eddie with the whole sort of making the next big fight against Kambosos. It might have made that easier. That said, I know Kambosos is saying he'll fight whoever impresses him most. Even if Tank gets a more impressive win, will he want to fight Kambosos? I think PBC have already said they only do in-house fights. But it's as our Prince Teddy in the chat says, watching Devin Haney as a counter puncher, love it. Someone earlier seemed to think that he was getting hurt. I didn't see it that way. I mean,
he took some shots, but it wasn't affecting him. Not like in the Linares fight when he took that big shot and it like wobbled his legs a little bit. Look, you're in a boxing fight. You're gonna get hit. So you're not gonna block every shot. But a few shots from Jojo went in, which you're gonna get. But I thought Devin responded really well. I didn't see any times where he was hurt. Maybe the 12th round he got it put on him a little bit. But you get that when a fighter's lost 11 rounds, they give it all they got in the 12th round because in the rounds before they don't want to give up too much because they got to go to the final bell. So look, Devin Haney's. Look, I've been saying it for about 3 years that this guy is the real deal. Like this guy is an ultimate professional. I don't think he drinks. I don't think he smokes. I don't think he goes out partying. I think he's just him and his dad. They train really hard. He was a great amateur. I love that they brought in Ben Davison as well. Ben Davison's a great coach, and to bring him in for an extra.
Move.
Oh yeah, and unusual but very interesting move. I think it's worked well with him. I think I think that's a great move. I think Eddie says the respect that they have together is good because I know they're not on a multi-fight deal. But this is the thing. This is why I say Eddie Hearn's the best promoter in the game because people are not in multi-fight contracts, but they still want to work with him, and that says a lot. So, because it's getting to the point now where Eddie might not even offer the most money. I know he does offer a lot of money, but he's giving these guys opportunities, and the opportunities when you're not getting opportunities from other people is priceless. So a lot of it, like Devin Haney, when no one was giving him a chance in America, promotional wise and stuff like that, Eddie gave him a chance, and now it's paying off. And I think that they'd do great stuff. I think the Kambosos Junior fight's definitely next. I think he was there this week, doing a lot of media. He was ringside last night. Devin Haney, he will fight anyone anyway. What I will say, okay, let's go back to the 4 Kings or the 5 Kings or whatever it was. One thing out of all them fighters, I would say, the only one I believe that will fight the other fighters is Devin Haney. I believe when I hear him say it, he's the only one I really think that if it got put to him in paper and it was there in front of him, I think he would sign it. The others, they may say, I've got other options. I'd see what's best for my career and stuff like that. I think Devin Haney's ambition is to become undisputed as fast as he can and then go up to 140. I believe this guy will probably end up in 147 at the end. I think he'll probably go up another 2 weight classes in his career. He's only 23. I think maybe go to 147 when he's 30. So I think maybe another year at this weight and then 6 years at maybe the next weight. So I think he's got ambitions. I think he wants to be a multiple world champion, not just a one-weight world champion. I think he's seen the Mayweather mold, shall we say. I know there's one Mayweather, but he's seen the business plan, the blueprint of how maybe he wants to follow his career. And like you said, he could have gone for the stoppage last night. That would have been the best thing. But I think he's got the same mentality as Floyd in the sense of he's not going to take them calculated risks if he doesn't need to. He knows that I'm winning the fight pretty comfortable. I could go for a bit of a shootout. I could maybe pick the risk factor up by another 50%, but why do that? Why get risk getting tagged with a lucky punch because look, let's be real, they're the ones that knock you out, the one that don't see you. All the shots that Devin Haney gets hit with, he sees them because it's just the way he fights, because he counter punches. So 9 times out of 10, he sees the shots he gets hit with. Because a lot of people saying he's got a great chin, he has got a good chin, but he sees a lot of the shots, so he's very clever in that he doesn't get hit with the shots he doesn't really see. So his defenses is really good. Yeah,
Devin Haney
he's
hasn't
good.
been dropped yet, has he?
No, he got rocked in the Linares fight. That was the most I've seen him hurt.
I mean, again, this modern obsession with, apart from, I mean, the three things which online trolls and haters are obsessed with in the boxing world: the unbeaten record, punching power, and an iron chin. I mean, it's like, as you said, I think, well, what do these guys classify as an iron chin and a glass chin? By their definition, Muhammad Ali had a glass chin because Henry Cooper put him down and almost out. That's the example I always tell people. Look, Haley at world level, yeah, he got wobbled by Linares. And as he himself pointed out, Lung got put down, Tio's been put down. Haney hasn't yet been put down, but he's got a glass chin because he got wobbled. I mean, come on. I don't think there's anything wrong with his chin. I think Prince Eddie's on it today. He's making some good points
Yeah,
here.
Prince Teddy's great. We love
Doesn't
Prince
have
Teddy in the chats.
Chris Oriel made a point. Doesn't have Manstret. I think you're right. Devin does physically still look a bit boyish. So I do think there's a lot of strength and power still to come from him.
He's just got to grow a beard. Grow a beard like your dad, Devin, and you're looking a bit older. That's all. It's because he has the shaved look. He looks fresh-faced. Grow a beard. And look, and going to his dad looks fantastic for his age. Like, he looks very stylish. So he's got great genes. So it's nothing wrong with looking young. But yeah, I feel like in his shoulders he could probably fill out a bit more. But you'll see that when he goes up in the weights. You've got to remember he's probably making weight still. I reckon he walks around at probably 154 when he's not in camp. Maybe even 150. So obviously he's got to make weight, and you do look a bit drawn out. And so yeah, look, I think maybe you'll see his man weight when he comes into the 140s, 147 categories and that, and he can maybe put on that muscle a bit more, and you'll see a bit more in the physicality. But what you were going back to, the three things that these we say it's the armchair boxing fan survival kit with power punching, the iron chin, and the O record, the unbeaten record, and yeah, that's what you get from casuals. That's what you get with the casuals when you go down the pub or something, or you just talk to someone. Like, yeah, what do you know, mate? He's got a banging chin, that guy. Like, do you know what I mean? Like, I know exactly your point, and I think it's bullshit. But some people, like us, real boxing fans, the people in the comments, the people that really watch boxing, we know there's a lot more to that. And look, as we've seen, look at Del Boy Chisora. The guy's got double figures in losses, but he's still a fan favourite because he gives it all he's got. And we don't care about them sort of things. We just want good entertainment on these nights. And that's one thing about Jojo Diaz. You know he's going to be in good fights. I know he lost last night. He got beat really unanimously, and no shame in that. Devin's an elite fighter. I'll definitely put him in that category of elite fighters. And yeah, Jojo Diaz, there's some good fights out there for him. Maybe the Linares fight would be a good tough fight for him. And that world level, maybe, I don't want to call Linares a journeyman, but he's that staple where if you beat him, yeah, gatekeeper. If you beat him,
world level gatekeeper.
Yeah, if you beat him, you go to that. You're at world level. But if he beats you, it's not that bad because he's a world level fighter. So it's like not really high risk, low reward. It's kind of like a 50-50. So it's not too bad to take that sort of chance. So if Jojo Diaz lost to Linares, his stock's not really going to go down. But if he beats him, they'd probably put him in line for another world title shot. So maybe a Linares, someone like that. But yeah, the division's looking very, very sweet, and Devin Haney looked fantastic. Big fights. I would like to see the big fight in Australia. I love Kambosos Jr. I think he's great. I think his dad's fantastic. He's probably, like Eddie said, he's probably done a bit too much media this week, where we're probably a bit sick of Kambosos Jr. Where take a break now, relax. We'll see you next year, and yeah, I think it'd be great for Australian boxing. I think why not? Why not go out to Australia and have a big boxing event out there? Maybe have Tim Zhu on there in a big fight. He's another big name that's out there, and maybe make it a lot of Australians again. Yeah, and
Great
maybe
show.
throw some international fights. Maybe we might get Lucas Brown fighting again because it's in Australia. He's got no excuse to say there's no travels. There's no excuses. We'll come to your backyard and let's
He
get one of
did
these
actually
UK boys.
fight, didn't he? He fought just a couple of days ago.
Did he fight?
Against
Well, if he has, let me know how he got
tell
on.
you,
Did he
I
win?
think he won. He won.
Oh, did he win?
Tell you,
Okay.
yeah. I mean, I don't know how they managed to dig up an opponent that he's capable of beating, but hey, good luck to him.
Yeah. And I actually, before we end it with the Gervonta Davis and Cruz, because I want to get your thoughts on that and get your prediction.
Yeah.
Let me know what you got. Look, I don't want to gloat. I'm not one for gloating. That's not my style. But look, Michael Hunter. Let's just talk about
Oh,
Michael Hunter
I
for a
thought you'd
minute.
have forgotten about that.
No, I ain't forgot about Michael Hunter. Let's not forget about the Bounty Hunter. More like Bounty, the chocolate bar is melting. Been in the sun too long. The chocolate bar's just melting away, just fading away. Because this guy is a joke. Get in the comments. Hashtag Michael Hunter is a joke. Because this guy, and I get so upset about it because I've rated this guy so highly. I was a Michael Hunter fan, and that's why I probably took it so tough. This guy rejected an IBF final title eliminator to fight on Triller for what he says was more money against a nobody. I can't even remember the guy's name. He was terrible. He fought him. Got no credit. Then you fight Jerry Forrest. And look, Jerry Forrest, if I'm correct, he beat Zhang, didn't he? Or got a draw with Zhang.
He did.
Yeah, and he should have won that fight. He got mugged off. He should have won that. So look, Jerry Forrest, I'm not saying you're a bum, but he's not even world level. He's not even, I wouldn't even say he's European level. I don't really rate Zhang that highly, to be fair. But Jerry Forrest, credit to you, sir. Credit to you, Jerry Forrest. Two great performances. But Michael Hunter, what the hell, mate? Your stock's gone down. You shouldn't be in the top 20 after that performance. Let's be real, right? Come on. What you saying about the bounty?
What am I saying?
Yeah, what's going on with him? Let me know what's going on. Because I got ridiculed months ago when I said that was a bad decision in a business sense and a boxing sense. The guy's gone back 10 steps, surely. He's not even gone back a couple. He's gone back 10 steps.
Catastrophic. I think that he might well regret this for years to come. Yeah, could be a catastrophic decision not taking that Hergovich fight. I don't know how much Triller are paying him. Who knows? Maybe they're paying him millions, and yeah, I doubt it though. And even if they are, doesn't he want to be heavyweight champion of the world?
Yeah.
Because he's he's fallen way. I mean, he was one fight away from a guaranteed shot at the IBF title. So yeah, and the worst thing is, I mean, Hergovich fought at the weekend. Again, another non-entity. I personally have never thought Hergovich looks great. I know people keep saying he's the next great heavyweight. I think, well, based on what? Potential? That's all well and good. You got to actually do it. And I actually think that upright European style, Hunter at his best, he could have got that win. And what a win it could have been.
Oh, mate, he would have been up there. Mate, this guy was being mentioned the fight Anthony Joshua instead of Andy Ruiz. He was in that position. He had that momentum. He had that stock. I know that even when he drew with Povetkin, the stock was still high.
Exactly.
I really rated him. He beat Martin Bacoli. Yeah, this guy was on. I was on the Michael Hunter train, and look, I've got a few people in the comments. They're obviously Michael Hunter fanboys. Look, respect to you guys. Look, I don't want to Look, like I said, I was a big fan, but one thing that you come into boxing, you don't start when you first hit that gym. You don't go in the gym and go, I hope I make a couple £1 million when I finish in this career. Your first aim is, I want to be a world champion. I want to be a champion. And then after that, maybe once you get to near that level or whatever, or if you're not going to get to that level and you see that that's not going to happen, then fair enough. You might fight for money. But this guy was in a position which 9 times out of 10, most fighters would have their arm bit off. Do you know what I mean? To fight for an eliminator for a world title, to get that opportunity. And as Prince Teddy says, he definitely doesn't belong in the top 10 heavyweights after this, due to
Nah.
recent performances, not due to whether I dislike him. I personally do not dislike him. Let's get that right. I don't dislike any fighter, but I want the best for him. That's why I'm so upset. He should have gone for that opportunity, even if he lost to Filip Herkovic, but you made it a war. The guy would have, the guy definitely would have got good credit for it. His stock would have gone up. Filip Herkovic is a beast, but I believe the style Michael Hunter could have. He had a chance of winning that fight. Like I believe he had a chance to win that. I'm not saying, oh, you should have took that fight and you would have got beat, but you had a chance to fight for a world title if you won that. I believe I'm sure he had a chance to win that fight, but
Stylistically,
it's
I thought Herkovic was a good matchup for Hunter. And that's why I think it could well be the decision that he looks back at with regret for years. The only other time I can think of a situation like this where someone turned down a chance to fight for the heavyweight title. I don't know if you remember back in the 90s, there was a Mexican American called Alex Garcia, and he
yeah.
was offered a crack at Riddick Bowe, and he turned it down, saying he weren't ready. And something similar happened to him. I think he lost his fight after that, which was meant to be a tune-up. And he never did get a crack at the heavyweight title ever again, or he never got anywhere near to it. So I do worry for Hunter. He could live to regret this.
Oh yeah, 100%. I believe that he will regret this decision. As I say, like I only get heartfelt about it because I know a lot of these fighters they want world title opportunities, and there's people in there that that don't get them opportunities, and he got that, and it had to be a smart business choice, and he made the wrong choice. Do you know what I mean? And I feel like he will learn to regret that. So
Yeah,
and yeah, it's just bad, and yeah, a lot of people in the chat getting a bit aggy and that. Look, I don't care what people say in the comments. We're all here for our own opinion and that. And I think if you're an actual true boxing fan, you'll probably agree with what me and Ra are saying. If I'm being completely honest, I feel like it was a really bad choice by Michael Hunter. He's fighting on shows that no one's even watching, and he could have been on the zone. He could have been fighting on some big shows and stuff. And like any top heavyweight against Michael Hunter would have been a good fight. I just feel like it's just ridiculous and that. But look, we're going to the predictions for tonight. You see in the comments, you see apparently it says Paddy the Baddie Pimlet, the UFC star. I'm not too sure if that is Paddy the Baddie. If it is, mate, join on, mate. If you've got a lot to say in that, I love Paddy. Look, I ain't gonna say anything bad about Paddy. I don't know if it is Paddy the Baddie. It might be some of these fake profiles that come up. Obviously, there's an Eddie Hearn in there, blatantly a fake Eddie Hearn. Apparently, I'm a 23-year-old virgin. I'm actually 32 with 3 children, but I guess you're the virgin as you're pretending to be Eddie Hearn, and you're probably in your bedroom, in your boxers with your pot noodle, as Eddie would say, probably bashing one off to what we're talking about. Sorry for the rude comments there, but these people in the comments and that they do really need to grow up a little bit. Look, I've thrown the link in there. If you want to come on and have your say, then yeah, let me know. But I doubt they will because I always throw it out there, but they don't really jump on in that because they're probably keyboard warriors. But yeah, we'll go on to the Gervonta Davis fight on a Sunday. I don't know what's going on there. Maybe Jake Paul has started the trend off there where fighting on a Sunday's becoming more
yeah,
fashionable.
strange one.
They're not. Or they obviously don't want to go head to head with the other shows that are going on. And yeah, no, it's an interesting fight. Cruz, I saw his last stoppage was a great stop, pretty much similar to Gervonta Davis's stoppage, but just with different hands. He landed the right, Davis landed the left on the left uppercut to Santa Cruz. It's an interesting fight. It's not too sure if many people are interested. Rather than being honest, I'm not on obviously on Davis. He's massive, but I meant on the fight as a whole. Maybe Cruz might surprise a few people. I think it's going to be explosive. I'll throw my prediction out there. I think Davis will get him out of there. I think it'll be a bit of a shootout. and I just think Davis will probably just end up tagging him. But Cruz has got a lot of power. I don't want to say that he's not going to bring anything to the table, but yeah, very interested about how Davis does get on and what happens in the future with him. But I don't think it's going to be too great for him because I feel like Leonard Ellaby's definitely putting him in a few bad positions with some of the things he says. But we find that with promoters sometimes. But as a whole, Davis is a great fighter, and it'd be interesting if he can get a spectacular finish tonight.
Yeah, I don't think Ellaby gets that when people get on his case about Tank not fighting these fighters on other platforms. We're not hating on him. Um, as fans, we don't really care which promoters are making money or not making money. We want to see the best fights. But we're the market. We, the fans, we're the market. And Ellaby seems to want to ignore it. I don't know, maybe does Tank have his own captive market over there in America? Maybe he does. But everyone would make more money, including his fighter, if they did cooperate across platforms. And it just comes across as like he doesn't have as much faith in Davis as he said. I mean, Davis, yeah, he's known for his punching power, but make no mistake, he's got boxing ability as well. He had a very thorough amateur background, and he's got skills. So I don't know why there's that reluctance to get him in there with some of these fights from other platforms, especially say someone like Haney. You know, if they're all going on about, oh, Haney, you got wobbled by Linares. Well, what would Tank do to you? Well, if you're that confident in it, put him in with Haney.
Yeah,
I personally think I've got a feeling this is going to be a lackluster performance from him because the Romero fight was shaping up with all the needle. Credit to Rolly, he's funny. He's a funny troll, and unlike these online trolls, he was saying it straight to Tank's face at the press conference. So that was building up nicely for being a needle match. I think Isaac Cruz, good fighter, tough as hell, hard hitting, but because he's been quiet and understated, doesn't speak English, I think that Tank might half be subconsciously not as up for this as he would have been. Might be a somewhat lackluster, laboured performance.
yeah, I can see
But
it
yeah,
happening.
got to expect Tank to win. But wouldn't surprise me if he labours and it's like a late stoppage, or might even go all the way.
Yeah, I was going to say a unanimous decision. I would have. I could probably see happening. What would be interesting, not that obviously I don't want this to happen. To be fair, I'll throw it out there. I'm not really too bothered in this fight for either fighter. I think Tank needs to start getting in some bigger fights to he beat Leo Santa Cruz, who's a great fighter, and let's not get that mistaken. But we want him in some more meaningful fights, maybe. I would.
Yeah,
I would. I would.
Sorry, go on.
No, you carry on, bro.
No, I was going to say, I'm not a Davis hater by any stretch. Like I said, he may well be the best lightweight in the world. Absolutely could be. But, I mean, Santa Cruz was a very good featherweight.
Yeah.
A good super featherweight, but not proven at lightweight. And so, yeah, I mean, Davis, they've got to up his competition. And that is going to mean they're going to have to do what they don't want to do, and that is perform across platforms. As he said, yeah, don't interest me much. Maybe his fan base in America, they'll lap up whatever he does, because he's apparently one of the few pay-per-view stars out there. So I'll tell you the fight that I am interested in on the undercard, Saber Fundora against Sergio Garcia, final eliminator for I think WC belt. That is a fascinating fight. Fundora,
That's a great, interesting
I'm
fight.
sure you've probably heard he's that freak who's 6'7", 154 pounds. I actually asked Hamza about him if they encountered each other in California. He said he has crossed paths with him, and yeah, he is this freakish beanpole. Sergio Garcia, the Spaniard, he's a guy that's been knocking around with a long unbeaten record for a long time and has just refused to sort of step up from European level. My guess is he was hoping that a weak champion would appear at 154 and he'd probably try and target that champion. Unfortunately for him, Charlo and Castano are now going to have all the belts, hopefully, tied up. I think there'll be matches in February. It's been talked about, nothing's confirmed. So there's no easy route for Garcia, and now his hand has been forced, and he's got to go in with this young freak from Dora. So that I'm
No,
fascinated to see how that turns out.
no, 100%. Yeah, no, that's a great fight on the undercard. I'll be keeping an eye on that one. Going back to you saying that apparently Davis is a great pay-per-view star. Obviously not, because they didn't put him on Saturday. They've moved into a Sunday, so they didn't even want to go. They didn't even put him up against Devin Haney. So if they thought he was that much of a big pay-per-view star, I think the proof would have been in the pudding by putting it on yesterday. But as boxing fans, it's great. We don't have to compete.
Mm-hmm.
Obviously, got the Cruz Davis fight tonight. I'm the same as you. I ain't got much interest, but I'll tell you what, the boxing world would definitely pipe up, and it'd be very interesting if Cruz got the victory. And I think there'd be a lot of talking points if he did. I think that would probably be for the media and for everything, the most best outcome for that sort of speculation would be for Cruz to win. I think if Davis
Mm-hmm.
wins, not much is really going to be said about it. It'd probably be depending how he performed. If he gets a highlight reel knockout, that's great, but I don't think his stock will go up however he wins this fight, really. I think the Romero fight would have been better. Cruz is a banger, so let's not give Cruz too much disrespect. But yeah, I think Tank will get the job done. I think it'll be late stoppage, as you say, or a unanimous decision, and we'll just see what happens in the future. But yeah, no, it's been great having you on tonight, Ra. Obviously, it's been great. A good couple of hours chatting. Well, hopefully we can do it again during the week if you're free and that. Talk about some other fights that are coming up. We've got some big fights coming up next weekend and all the way up till
Absolutely.
Christmas now. So it'd be great to get you on. Great chat and get people in the comments again, get involved. And yeah, it's just been nice this evening on a Sunday, just chilling out. Two guys having a great chat about boxing, getting the people in the comments involved. And yeah, no, it's been really enjoyable. Obviously, I'm Jay Albie. You can find me on Instagram as well. Obviously, you can find Ra on Instagram too. If Ra is doing a lot in the boxing world at the moment, he's going to all the shows. So please follow him and get behind him, give him all your support as we are at Pep Talk. And yeah, next week we'll get back talking to it again. We'll get Kenny on, see Kenny's thoughts, because I'm sure he'll have a few thoughts. Said he couldn't
Mm-hmm.
make it tonight. One, I believe it's because Tottenham and Man United are both gone above Arsenal in the league today. Also, we done him on Thursday night. I've not really spoke to him since then. So look, no hard feelings, Ken. We'll let the wounds heal a little bit. We'll see you next week. Obviously, hopefully Everton get a victory tomorrow night. That would be absolutely fantastic. I know Ra's feeling that as well. And
You bet.
you got Ra's Instagram in the comments, people. So hit in the comments. You'll see Ra's Instagram there. Please follow him. And yeah, we'll get the banter on the football going next week as well. And hopefully Joe will be on as well next week. West Ham doing very well in the league, so I'm sure he'd like to talk about a bit of West Ham at the moment. It'd be great. We got three fans on the channel, all teams in the top five. We got another fan in Kenny who's a mid-table team, but we invite everyone, so no hard feelings there, Ken. It's all banter, but yeah, I bet you're happy with tonight's result before we go then, Ra.
Yeah, of course. Still early days though. Like I said, we're going to have to see how things end up. We remember it's Tottenham. We're used to having a little good run, maybe up until the new year, and then things go pear shaped. So I've learned not to get too excited too quickly. So
Yeah, Tottenham, they're definitely consistently inconsistent. That's the one thing I could say about Tottenham. That's one way to put it. They lost.
exactly,
They
yeah.
lost to a load of farmers a couple of weeks ago. Not even national conference level. I'd say they're probably pub standard football, and then they get
Yeah.
a few wins in the league. But no, I think this year will be different for you guys. I think once you get the January, Conte's going to have a few ideas of who he wants, and I think he'll get them players. I wouldn't be surprised in the summer or January or in the summer you'd get Martinez from Inter Milan. I think that's going to be your biggest signing in either January or in June. I think you will sign Martinez from Inter Milan, and he's a really top striker. I think he's the best Argentina striker since Aguero. So if you manage to get him, I think that would be a great coup. And
would be
it's
a
a
great
striker
coup.
that's it's a world class striker that you don't have to rely on Harry Kane. So if you did sell him, it's not like it's the be all or an end all. And you got another striker you can build around who's quite young, international, won a league. He's won more. He's won more than your squad's won at the moment. Which ain't a dig. I'm not saying it's a dig. I'm just saying it's a winning mentality to come into the dressing room. So it's a plus. It's a plus plus. I'm a Man United fan, but I'm not a deluded fan where I'll rip every other team because they're not Man United. So I can have a decent conversation with other fans and talk to them about their team. Do you know what I mean? So yeah, no, Tottenham. I think you got everything to be a top side. You got a great stadium. You got a great manager. And you've got an okay squad. You've not got a drastically bad squad. I think you've got the basis to, if you get the right players in there, maybe a top quality centre back, a good centre midfielder, and a striker. I think that's good options for you to build on for the next couple of seasons. Maybe a new goalie in a season or two. I like Lloris, but he makes it. He's making more errors as the years go on. So as that starts happening, maybe it's time to get a fresh new keeper in.
Might have to look at that. Still, only 2 points off the top 4, and
that's what I mean. Yeah, so you're doing great, and Man United coming on a bit of form at the moment. Not going to say we're lighting the world up on fire because that would be a lie, but obviously getting a win today, unbeaten in 3 games, with a new manager, hopefully make the right steps. And the league this year is very interesting. I'm really enjoying it because obviously we're getting some results. West Ham are pulling out some results out the bag. You're getting like teams like Palace. It's a season where the teams that you would normally say you're guaranteed to get 3 points against, I think they're becoming a bit more even playing fields. I don't know if you agree with that.
Yeah, I mean, I'm interested to see what happens with Newcastle in the January window. And how much of that Saudi oil money is going to result in an influx of big money players.
The win at the weekend helped them out because that got them their first win, and considering they've only just got their first win, they're not actually too far away from relegation, getting out of the relegation zone. I think maybe another win or another 2 wins and they're out of it, which you could do that in 2 weeks' time. And over Christmas, you could do it in a week. You get 2 games in a week, so they're not that far where you'd say it's impossible. But people are saying who's going to sign for him, like if they're going to get relegated. Well, you've got to be smart here, and if you sign a player on a 3-year contract, you just put a release clause that if you get relegated, they can be sold for a certain price. So,
absolutely.
So they can get players because it's just an incentive. Because what they'll do is they say sign for 2 years or 3 years, you get a release clause. But if you keep us up, you might get an increase in your wages, which will make players think, all right, okay, it's good. It's a way of managing these players. So look, they will get some players in. Maybe will they gel quick enough? I'm not too sure. The only benefit that they've got, there's 6 teams in there that are all at the same sort of level where I'd say from about, there's like 6 teams. You've got Norwich, Newcastle, up to about Leeds. Burnley, Watford, up to about Leeds. I'd say them sort of teams, they're all similar levels. And I think that's the benefit for Newcastle. Years that have gone by, the bottom 2, or normally there's at least 2 that are well away. So, yeah, no, they've got a good chance of staying up. But it'd be interesting. It's a good league, and yeah, it'd be good to maybe soon we can sit down and talk football. That'd be quite interesting. Me, you, and Kenny having just a football chat with Kenny's thoughts, and a Tottenham fan, a United fan, even Joe as a West Ham fan. Get Joe involved. It'd be good. Maybe we can have a pep talk football conversation. So, but look, Ra, you've been fantastic. Everyone, check out Ra's Instagram in the comments. Please support him. He's doing great stuff in the boxing world at the moment. Also, support us Pep Talk at Official Pep Talk Boys 2021, our Instagram. Me, JLB, check me out. Check out the rest of the guys as well. And look, it's been a great night. Look after yourself, Ra. We'll catch up next week and enjoy yourself.
You too, mate. Have a good week. Catch you soon.
You too, mate. Speak soon. Cheers, mate. Bye-bye.